Holy Mountains ban. Martial artists above the innate realm are not allowed to attack humans below the innate without cause. Should anyone dare to overtly break the ban, even the Seven Killings Tower wouldn't withstand the pressure from the Holy Mountain and the four great secret places. That's very good indeed. I also want to experience techniques of the Seven Killings Tower. This could actually be a good opportunity. At this point, Lu Qing truly set his worries aside. Seeing how Lu Qing remained so calm and composed in the face of possible terrifying assassinations, all the guests were filled with admiration. They recalled the words Heavenly Orphan had said before his death. Although they were unclear about what exactly this so-called Millennium Upheaval was, they were somewhat inclined to believe in the notion of the Child of Fate. If even someone as outstanding as Lu Qing couldn't be the Child of Fate, they couldn't imagine what kind of devil the real Child of Fate would be. Seeing that Lu Qing showed no fear of the possible assassinations from Seven Killings Tower, even the cloth-clothed youth couldn't help but admire him. At this moment, even he had to admit that what Heavenly Orphan said before dying had some truth to it. Lu Qing indeed might be an exceptional talent born at the right moment before the era of great strife, carrying the mandate of destiny. Young Master Lu, actually, this could be an opportunity for you, perhaps. Seeing Lu Qing's composed demeanor, the cloth-clothed youth couldn't help but remark jokingly, after admiring him inwardly. "Oh, what do you mean by that?" Lu Qing asked, slightly taken aback. Seven Killings Tower is a sect that possesses ancient heritages, and similarly, it follows some ancient rules. Within Seven Killings Tower, an assassination order is issued called the Seven Killings Order. Once the Seven Killings Order is activated, you will face the assassins of the entire Seven Killings Tower. But these assassination attempts are not unlimited. According to the rules of the Seven Killings Order, they will carry out a maximum of 7 assassination attempts against you. After 7 attempts, if you are still alive, then Seven Killings Tower will cease their pursuit and offer you the highest courtesy. Not only will they treat you as a distinguished guest, but they will also pledge never to accept any assassination tasks concerning you ever again. Additionally, they will declare to the entire assassin world that you have become a guest of honor in Seven Killings Tower. Any other assassin organization that attempts to assassinate you will be seen as provoking Seven Killings Tower, and they will face Seven Killings Tower's revenge. Moreover, it's rumored that besides these, Seven Killings Tower will present you with an opportunity. However, what this opportunity specifically is, no one has ever known. The cloth-clothed youth's explanation made everyone listen in stunned silence. No one had imagined that an assassination from Seven Killings Tower involved so many specifics. Mr. Jirue, based on what you've said, does it mean that anyone who survives the Seven Killings Order will in turn be protected by Seven Killings Tower? Wei Xingge asked. That's correct. The cloth-clothed youth nodded. Lu Qing, however, inquired, then may I ask Mr. Jirue, has anyone ever survived this Seven Killings Order? Yes, the cloth-clothed youth asserted. The Seven Killings Order of Seven Killings Tower is not issued lightly, but according to the records of Tianji Building, in the nearly 10,000 years, Seven Killings Tower has issued at least hundreds of Seven Killings Orders. 2 distant events are hard to verify, but in the most recent millennium, a total of 3 people have safely survived the pursuit of the Seven Killings Order. The most recent individual was a figure from 300 years ago, and these 3 individuals did indeed, as rumors had it, receive Seven Killings Tower's protection, and thereafter, they never experienced any form of assassination for the rest of their lives. It is said that one of them was once targeted for assassination by a rising assassin organization. But the moment the contract was offered, before anyone could take up the task, that assassin organization was uprooted overnight and completely eradicated. It is precisely because of these incidents that people believe Seven Killings Tower truly adheres to the rules of the Seven Killings Order. Only 3 people had managed to survive the assassination attempts of the Seven Killings Order in a millennium. Hearing this, everyone finally understood just how difficult this was. Goodness, the odds were so slim, it was hardly sufficient to say it's surviving against all odds. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say it was a near-certain death scenario. No wonder Seven Killings Tower would make such a promise. To them, someone surviving the Seven Killings Order was a rarity that might not occur even once in hundreds of years. Anyone who could escape Seven Killings Tower's 7 attempts and remain unscathed must indeed be an exceptional talent with tremendous fate and destiny. For such a being to step back and make way temporarily, what's the harm? Some astute guest pondered for a moment and then suddenly understood the subtlety involved. The rule of Seven Killings Tower might appear restrictive, but in reality, it was a way for them to keep an escape route for themselves. So young Master Lu, you needn't worry about 7 Killings Tower not keeping their promise after you survive the 7 Killings Order. This is an ancient rule passed down through thousands of years in 7 Killings Tower, and they cannot possibly break it, the cloth-clothed youth concluded. I never entrust my life to the promises of others. Lu Qing remained unaffected, replying indifferently. Whether the rule of the 7 Killings Order is true or not, I don't care. If 7 Killings Tower really wants to assassinate me, then they should also be prepared to become my enemies. At that point, when to stop may not be for them to decide. Lu Qi was not one to passively receive blows. If 7 Killings Tower really wanted to assassinate him, it might well turn out to be a question of who hunts whom. Sensing the coldness in Lu Qing's words, the cloth-clothed youth felt a chill in his heart. Only then did he remember that the person before him was not as kind as he seemed on the surface. The other guests felt an inexplicable chill as well, especially Ma Gu, who couldn't help but recall the scene he witnessed at Happy Village. Lu Qing holding a long knife amidst the flames, decapitated heads rolling, corpses scattered everywhere, blood filling the ground. Because of Heavenly Orphan's assassination attempt, the Wei family's mentorship ceremony could only conclude hastily. However, aside from the Qian family, the other guests felt not the slightest disappointment. Their gains from attending the Wei family's ceremony this time were immense. Not only had they witnessed a duel between martial arts experts, but also learned many secret informations they normally couldn't have accessed. Particularly some keen-minded individuals who detected extremely important information from the conversation between the cloth-clothed youth and the assassin. Like the disciples from Qingyun's Sword Pavilion. What is the upheaval that hasn't been seen in 10,000 years? In a certain courtyard, several Qingyun Sword Pavilion disciples were gathered together, quietly discussing. I don't know, but Tianji Building is always mysterious and knows countless secrets. 7 Killings Tower, likewise, is an ancient sect that has been passed down for 10,000 years. It must be an extremely important matter for them to take it so seriously. This matter must be reported to the sect. If it is as those two said, a major upheaval is about to occur in the world, and our Qingyun Sword Pavilion must also prepare in advance to respond. 7th Junior Brother, later I will write a letter by hand, and you must immediately start your journey back to the sect and report today's events to the sect in full. Yes. After discussing for a while and making a decision, they then started to talk about other matters. Speaking of which, that young Master Lu is truly terrifying. Even the assassins of the 12 Heavenly Gang from the 7 Killings Tower are no match for him, not even able to flee. One of the Qingyun Sword Pavilion disciples, recalling the morning's events, still felt amazed. The assassins of the 12 Heavenly Gang from the 7 Killings Tower are recorded in the sect as extremely formidable beings. It is rumored that they possess the ability to assassinate martial arts grandmasters. And indeed, the facts proved the rumors true. At that time, the aura burst forth by Heavenly Orphan was not only frightfully powerful but also had the strange effect of shaking the heart, spirit, and stalling the thought process. Even Wei Family Master, himself a martial arts grandmaster, seemed affected at that moment, his movements delayed. Yet, such a fearsome assassin stood no chance against young Master Lu, unable to escape, which was simply inconceivable. Yes, who would have thought that in a small place like Song County, there would be such an exceptional genius? I believe that even those top true disciples of our Sword Pavilion intersect pale in comparison to young Master Lu in terms of talent. The elders were right. There are always stronger people in the world, and there are heavens beyond our own. There are always some geniuses and devils in this world who are beyond ordinary people's imagination. We used to think that the locals here in Song County were naive and had never seen a real martial arts expert, which is why they believed the rumors and overly praised young Master Lu. But it turns out, the real frogs in the well were ourselves. Another disciple also sighed. The rest of them, hearing this, remained silent. There was no helping it. The shock that Lu Qing brought them was too great. Who would have thought that a teenager, barely in his teens, could achieve such martial prowess? Even the fearsome assassins from the 12 Heavenly Gang of the 7 Killings Tower were easily defeated by him, his strength being inconceivably strong. Moreover, as his martial prowess was so formidable, he was also an expert in medical skills, capable of easily resolving the dreaded blood poison from the 7 Killings Tower. His medical skills were no less impressive than his martial capabilities. A young man, yet able to achieve such accomplishments in both martial arts and medical skills. This left several disciples of the Qingyan Sword Pavilion feeling shocked and unable to comprehend. In fact, they all felt somewhat fortunate at this time. Fortunately, at the banquet, although they were skeptical after hearing some country airs praise Lu Qing, they did not verbally ridicule young Master Lu. Otherwise, they probably all would have ended up as clowns, publicly slapped in the face. It seems that following the teachings of the elders when going out is correct. No matter when and where, one must remain humble, never arrogant or complacent because of a momentary whim. Now, the disciples of the Qingyun Sword Pavilion deeply realized how sensible the teachings of the elders were back at the sect. Perhaps this was the real significance of the sect, sending them out to experience the world. Just as the disciples of the Qingyun Sword Pavilion were realizing the meaning of their experience, in the County Lord Mansion, atop a small building, the cloth-clothed youth was sitting in front of a desk, holding a jade pen and writing vigorously on a Dan book jade scroll placed on the table. As he wrote, the tip of the jade pen emitted brilliance, transforming into characters that fell into the Dan book jade scroll, disappearing into it. After continuously writing for half an hour, the cloth-clothed youth wrote all the events of the past few days into the Dan book jade scroll and transmitted it to the sect. He then put down the pen, stood up, walked to the front of the small building, and looked out at the distant sky with a worried expression. The 10,000-year upheaval is approaching. The world's situation is about to change drastically, and various forces from the demon and evil paths are also stirring. Where will the fate of humanity go? The conversation with Heavenly Orphan let the cloth-clothed youth know that the upcoming 10,000-year upheaval was probably no secret among many top forces. He also thought about some of the recent information uncovered by Tianji Building, which further deepened his worries. Feeling a great upheaval was imminent, Lu Qing knew that the world would soon be thrown into chaos. He couldn't help but wonder how many people would meet untimely deaths, their lives reduced to ashes. He also pondered whether Tianji Building could navigate such a monumental change and preserve itself. His thoughts then turned to Lu Qing. Despite being such a mysterious young man, he had never been able to see through him. Even using the sect's exotic treasure had not clarified his true nature. It was as though there was always a layer of mist surrounding him, capable of concealing any probing and calculations. Though Lu Qing's background remained elusive, he always had a sense of warning in his heart, sensing that Lu Qing's power was extremely terrifying. He might not even be a match for him. Thinking about Lu Qing's age and the last words of the Heavenly Orphan before his death, the cloth-clothed youth somewhat agreed with the Heavenly Orphan's claim. Perhaps Lu Qing truly was an unparalleled genius destined to appear before the imminent changes in the heavens and earth. Only such a favored child of destiny, born with great fortune, could fearlessly obscure his own fate from their exotic treasure of Tianji Building. But could such a born genius really be so terrifying? The cloth-clothed youth recalled some ancient records from his sect. According to those records, when the heavens and earth were about to change, numerous heroes would rise, and many geniuses destined to seize their destiny would appear. If the talents of these children of fate were all as formidable as Lu Qing's, he couldn't begin to imagine the dazzling clash of brilliance when these unparalleled geniuses contested with one another. How could they, of Tianji Building, adapt to such heavenly secrets and guide the major trends amid these unparalleled geniuses? Thinking about his sect's ancestral teachings, the cloth-clothed youth felt a chill. He couldn't help but doubt if the founding grandmaster of his sect had been too fanciful in his thoughts. Jirue, are you there? Just as the cloth-clothed youth's thoughts were fluctuating, suddenly, he heard a familiar knock at the door. I'm here, come in. The cloth-clothed youth casually put away the jade pen and the Dan book jade scroll and spoke indifferently. The door opened, and Lord County Master, Yin Songhai, walked in, holding some liquor and food along with a chess set. What is it? Asked the cloth-clothed youth. Here to drink and play chess. Yin Songhai mentioned what he held in his hands. Haven't you already had quite a lot to drink this morning at the Wei family? More drinking? The cloth-clothed youth was somewhat speechless, finding that his friend seemed to be increasingly indulging in alcohol. That bit of liquor was nothing. It was scared away by the assassins from the Seven Killings Tower. Yin Songhai casually started setting up the liquor, food, and chessboard on the table. Come, it looks like you also have many worries. Why not join me for a few drinks? The cloth-clothed youth thought for a moment, didn't refuse, and sat down at the table. His friend poured him a glass of wine. After a few drinks and several moves in chess, Yin Songhai then asked, Are you troubled by what the assassin from the Seven Killings Tower said today about the millennial upheaval? The cloth-clothed youth paused, his expression unreadable. It's not something you should know, don't ask. Have you forgotten the lessons of the past? This time, Yin Songhai didn't back down but smiled instead. It seems, then, what Heavenly Orphan said was true. The world is really about to change. The cloth-clothed youth remained silent. After a while, he finally spoke. Indeed, the world is about to change, but it's not the kind of change you envision. Yin Songhai, put aside your little scheming. This is not something you can touch. If you meddle recklessly, it's not just you. Even we of Tianji Building, or Holy Mountain, could be shattered into pieces, never to recover. Do you want to lead the Yin family toward destruction? Hearing this, Yin Songhai's complexion finally changed drastically. Young Master Lu, I've found all the materials you asked for, Wei Xinghe said with delight on the third day after the apprenticeship ceremony as he arrived at Lu Qing's residence. Have you finally gathered them all? Lu Qing was equally surprised. Where are all the materials? I've already had someone prepare to bring them here. There's no need for such trouble. I still need to configure these materials. Wei Family Master, is there an alchemy room in the mansion? I would like to borrow it. Yes, of course. Shall I have someone move the materials to the alchemy room then? That works too. Thank you. After Wei Xinghe had left, Elder Dr. Chen asked, Ah Qing, what materials did you have the Wei Family Master find for you? Some materials for mixing medicinal liquids, related to forging, Lu Qing answered. The Elder Doctor nodded without asking further. He knew of the mysterious legacy Lu Qing had acquired, so he was somewhat used to him coming up with strange things from time to time. Master, after I've prepared the medicinal liquid, I'll need to make a trip to the smithy, and I might return late, said Lu Qing. Yes, be careful when you go out and pay attention to your safety, the Elder Doctor cautioned. Just 2 days ago, while Elder Dr. Chen and Wei Shanhai were out gathering herbs, they returned only to learn about an assassination attempt that had taken place back at the mansion. Wei Shanhai was so furious that he nearly confronted Seven Killings Tower to demand an explanation. Hearing everyone's discussions and the cloth-clothed youth's words about the Seven Killings order, Elder Dr. Chen also worried about Lu Qing's situation. However, he knew not to let fear inhibit action. It was impossible to stay holed up in Wei Mansion just because of a potential assassination. Moreover, Elder Dr. Chen knew Lu Qing's character well, calm and steady. Since Lu Qing thought it safe to go out, he must be confident in ensuring his safety. I understand, Master. When I return, I'll bring you a surprise, Lu Qing replied. After gathering his things, Lu Qing then went to the alchemy room at Wei Mansion. Upon arriving, he inspected the materials that Wei Xinghe's men had brought over and, after examination, nodded in satisfaction. The materials were almost exactly what he needed. Any slight discrepancies were trivial and wouldn't affect the configuration of the medicinal liquid. Of course, this was also because the list he had given to Wei Xinghe not only had the names of the materials but also listed their various properties. Otherwise, it would not have been so easy to gather everything just by name alone. After all, in the legacy Lu Qing had obtained, many of the materials still bore names from tens of thousands of years ago. Who knew if those names had changed over such a lengthy period? But while names might alter, the properties of the materials would not easily change. Thus, Lu Qing had successfully gathered all the materials. Wei Family Master, I need to prepare a unique medicinal liquid using these materials. Please make sure no one disturbs me, Lu Qing requested. Please rest assured, young Master Lu. I will personally ensure that no one interrupts, Wei Xinghe responded gravely. Ever since Lu Qing had once again saved Wei Xian's life, and after hearing the conversation between the cloth-clothed youth and Heavenly Orphan, Wei Xinghe's respect for Lu Qing had deepened. Thank you, Wei Family Master. Lu Qing entered the alchemy room, closed the door, and began diligently mixing the medicinal liquid. An hour later, Lu Qing looked at the fiery red liquid emanating wisps of heat before him, a hint of satisfaction in his eyes. Although over this period, he had used his superpower multiple times to simulate and attempt the preparation of this fire-burning liquid in his mind, this was his first actual practice. He hadn't expected to succeed on his first try, an unexpected delight indeed. Originally, he had even had Wei Xinghe prepare several extra sets of materials for practice. However, the remaining materials should not go to waste, so Lu Qing continued to prepare them. Another hour passed, and Lu Qing opened the door of the alchemy room and walked out. Young Master Lu, how did it go? Wei Xinghe immediately greeted him. I have successfully prepared the medicine liquid, Wei Family Master. Next, I need to visit Junta'sGaming workshop. I probably won't be back for lunch, so there's no need to prepare my portion. Is young Master Lu going to Junta'sGaming workshop to forge his own weapon? Wei Xinghe recalled what the Grand Steward had mentioned and couldn't help asking. Indeed, I have an appointment with Master Lin of Junta'sGaming workshop. I will be using his forge again in the next few days. Wei Xinghe hesitated for a moment and said, Young Master Lu, I wonder if I could also follow you to observe? Of course, but does the Wei Family Master also have an interest in casting? Actually, young Master Lu, I heard from the Grand Steward that you are highly accomplished in the art of casting and possess the demeanor of a Grand Master. I have never had the fortune to witness a casting master's demeanor, and I would naturally love to observe. That's the Grand Steward's exaggeration. I only have some understanding in the art of forging and am far from deserving the title of a casting master. However, since the Wei Family Master is interested, it would be an honor for me. With Lu Qing's permission, Wei Xinghe was quite anticipatory and immediately went to make arrangements. Meanwhile, Lu Qing first returned to Yuzhu Courtyard, entered his room to take a wooden box, and then took the smallest piece of Outer Heaven Fallen Iron from his Qiankuan Qi bag and put it inside. Then, carrying the wooden box, he walked out of the courtyard and set off for Junta'sGaming workshop together with Wei Xinghe. Young Master Lu, you're here. Upon arriving at Junta'sGaming workshop, they saw that Master Lin and his apprentices were already respectfully waiting for them. It turned out that during the time Lu Qing was retrieving items from his courtyard, Wei Xinghe had sent someone ahead to notify Junta'sGaming workshop. Knowing that Lu Qing was finally coming to forge his weapon, Master Lin was naturally ecstatic. He immediately closed Junta'sGaming workshop temporarily and led his apprentices in respectfully waiting for Lu Qing's arrival. Master Lin, I am troubling you again to borrow your workshop's furnace, Lu Qing politely said. Not at all, not at all. Master Lin quickly responded, it is our honor at Junta'sGaming workshop that young Master Lu values us. Master Lin now had immense respect for Lu Qing. During the previous days when he was helping to polish the 1,000 refined sword mold that Lu Qing had forged, the more he polished, the more astounded he became. That sword mold had been forged by Lu Qing to an ultimate perfection, flawless throughout without any impurities, truly impeccable. Master Lin was utterly fascinated. Thus, for Lu Qing, who had forged such a perfect 1,000 refined sword mold, he was filled with admiration. Therefore, even though the one accompanying him this time was the Wei family patriarch, he was no longer surprised. In Master Lin's view, Lu Qing, whose forging skills had reached the Grandmaster level, entirely deserved such esteem. The group then entered Junta'sGaming workshop. Young Master Lu, will you be using furnace number 1 again? Master Lin eagerly asked. Yes, I've used it before, and it feels quite comfortable. Let's stick with it, Lu Qing nodded. Then I will start the furnace for young Master Lu. Master Lin eagerly stepped forward, went to the bellows, and with a strong pull, a surge of flames arose, and heat waves rolled. Young Master Lu, please. Master Lin's respectful demeanor, much like that of a junior apprentice, was excessively humble. Thank you. Lu Qing did not refuse. He understood the old craftsman's intent to take the opportunity to assist him and observe his forging technique closely. He didn't mind this. If the old craftsman could really grasp something, that would be his fortune too. Placing the wooden box down, opening it, Lu Qing took out the Outer Heaven Fallen Iron inside. When Master Lin clearly saw the appearance of the fallen iron, he was initially stunned, then his eyes gradually widened. Young Master Lu, could this be the legendary Outer Heaven Fallen Iron? Staring at the item extracted by Lu Qing, Master Lin asked while his eyes widened in disbelief. Yes, this is a piece of Outer Heaven Fallen Iron I've acquired by chance, perfect for forging my weapon, Lu Qing did not deny. Such a large piece of Outer Heaven Fallen Iron. Upon receiving Lu Qing's confirmation, Master Lin was so shocked he almost jumped up in amazement. His eyes filled with incredulity. This was Outer Heaven Fallen Iron, the legendary material for smithing divine weapons. Just a small piece could transform mortal iron into divine iron. Now, Lu Qing possessed such a large piece. Master Lin finally understood why Lu Qing had been so disinterested in 1,000 refined sword mold earlier, casually giving it away. It turned out he had such a miraculous substance for forging in his hand. Wei Xinghe, standing nearby, also felt astounded. He too had heard of the great reputation of Outer Heaven Fallen Iron. It was rumored to be one of the best materials for forging divine weapons, and yet, it was in Lu Qing's possession. Young Master Lu, although the Outer Heaven Fallen Iron is a material for forging divine items, it is also highly resistant to heat. I fear that my furnace might not be able to melt it, Master Lin said with a wistful smile after finally regaining his composure. Outer Heaven Fallen Iron, originally from beyond the skies, was a miraculous substance that fell from the heavens. In the process of entering this world, it had been tempered by the natural forces such as the celestial gale and lightning within the clouds. Thus, its melting point was extremely high, and it was highly resistant to heat. With the Junta'sGaming Workshop's furnace, they were likely unable to do anything to such a divine material. It's no problem, I've come prepared. Master, you only need to help me control the temperature and leave the rest to me, Lu Qing said as he placed the piece of Outer Heaven Fallen Iron into the furnace for smelting. Seeing this, Master Lin had no choice but to follow Lu Qing's instructions and continued to pump the bellows. As the bellows continued to operate, the flames within the furnace grew more and more intense, yet despite the prolonged smelting, the piece of Outer Heaven Fallen Iron showed no signs of change, not even a hint of turning red. Just as Master Lin had guessed, their Junta'sGaming Workshop's furnace simply could not heat this divine metal. However, Lu Qing's expression was not one of impatience. He took out a small porcelain bottle, the size of a palm, from a wooden box, uncorked it, and promptly poured a drop of red medicine liquid into the furnace. As the liquid fell into the furnace, the already vigorous flames shot up even higher, quickly changing from red to blue. At the same time, intense heat spread out, causing even Master Lin, who had been smithing for the better part of his life, to feel unbearably hot. Yet Master Lin couldn't be concerned with that. His eyes were fixed on the blue flames, filled with disbelief. Pure blue flame. How is this possible? His own furnace was handcrafted by himself. He was clear about its capabilities. It simply could not produce such pure blue flames. After all, this was the stuff of legends, the pure blue flame that every forger dreamed of. It's that medicine liquid. Master Lin realized almost instantly that the transformation had to be caused by the liquid that Lu Qing had dropped into the furnace. He stared intently at the porcelain bottle in Lu Qing's hand, his eyes blazing with desire. What sort of treasure liquid was this, that it could give rise to the legendary pure blue flame? Master, proceed. Lu Qing, however, did not pay attention to Master Lin's gaze but simply gave a light shout. Master Lin to attention, quickly gathering his heart and spirit and controlling the bellows with all his might. Lu Qing stared intently at the furnace, and seeing that the flame within was showing signs of changing from green to red, he dropped another drop of medicine liquid into it to maintain its pure green. In the following time, whenever the flame in the furnace showed signs of weakening, Lu Qing would add a drop of fire-burning liquid to keep the furnace fire pure green. Thus, under the continuous refining of the green flame, 10 breaths later, the Outer Heaven Fallen Iron finally began to change, slowly turning red. Seeing this, a slight smile appeared on the corners of Lu Qing's mouth. This fire-burning liquid was a peculiar medicine liquid that the Lihua sect had researched in the past that could stimulate the flame and greatly increase the flame temperature. The purpose was to allow even disciples of the sect who had not cultivated true fire to control higher-level flames and forge divine weapons. In the cultivation era, this was not considered a particularly remarkable method. But now, with the decline of immortal Tao and the extinction of cultivators who possessed true fire, the value of this fire-burning liquid suddenly soared. It became the only method he could use to melt the Outer Heaven Fallen Iron. The Outer Heaven Fallen Iron in the furnace gradually turned red, and after dozens of breaths, it finally became glowing red. Lu Qing did not delay, immediately took it out with tongs, placed it on the anvil, stretched out his hand to grab the heaviest hammer, and, with the momentum of Mount Tai pressing down, smashed it down fiercely. Clang! Under Lu Qing's surging power, sparks flew, and a loud sound erupted, reaching miles away, and the entire backyard of Junta'sGaming Workshop trembled. Master Lin and his disciples all felt their hearts pound. That strike from Lu Qing was much more ferocious than when he had been forging the 1,000 refined sword mold. If the anvil were not sturdy enough, it might have been crushed and ruined by Lu Qing's. Under such a fierce hammer skill, even divine iron like the Outer Heaven Fallen Iron, fully heated to red hot, was smashed and deformed by a single hammer. At the sight, Master Lin's eyelids twitched. Another hammer, another refinement. It was incredible that young Master Lu could achieve one hammer, one refinement even with divine iron like the Outer Heaven Fallen Iron. Clang! One hammer brought success, and Lu Qing, without pause, flipped his hand and smashed down another hammer. Clang! 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 As Lu Qing continued to forge, the loud sounds kept ringing out and spreading. Such commotion immediately disturbed the community. It prompted the nearby people to come out of their houses and look towards Junta'sGaming workshop with astonishment and trepidation. Was it Thunder God thundering? Or what was Junta'sGaming workshop doing to produce such terrifying sounds? Alas, no one could answer that question for the time being. In order to allow Lu Qing to forge attentively, Master Lin had already temporarily closed Junta'sGaming workshop and ordered the disciples to stand guard, not letting outsiders enter. Unless someone forced their way in, they could not see what was happening in the backyard. But as the forging master who ranked first in the county, Master Lin's status was high. Without clear understanding, ordinary people were truly reluctant to offend him rashly. Thus, despite their alarm, under the obstruction of the Junta'sGaming workshop disciples, the crowd could only suppress their curiosity, letting the loud sounds continue. However, what no one expected was that the duration of these loud sounds far exceeded their imagination. They actually continued for more than 2 hours before suddenly ceasing. Junta'sGaming workshop's backyard was silent. Everyone gazed intently at the location of Furnace Number 1. There, Master Lin was panting heavily, drenched in sweat, looking as if he was on the verge of collapse. Despite his cultivation having reached the pinnacle of the muscle-bone realm, running the bellows for more than 2 hours straight, and having to concentrate on controlling the temperature still seemed almost too much to handle. Lu Qing likewise was drenched in sweat, with slightly labored breathing, having expended quite a bit of energy. This outer heaven fallen iron was not like ordinary mortal iron. Hammering it even once drained a significant amount of his heart power. As a result, even he felt considerably fatigued after shaping the piece of outer heaven fallen iron. However, both men, though weary, possessed high spirits. Their eyes gleamed as they gazed at the iron anvil and stand. On it, the piece of outer heaven fallen iron that Lu Qing had brought had completely transformed. It had turned into a rough embryo of a black long sword, with a simple design similar to the one Lu Qing had previously used. Of course, what astonished Master Lin the most were the patterns on the sword that seemed to resemble ripples on water, flames, and even lightning. They appeared natural, and at a glance, they seemed to emit a mysterious aura that captivated the soul. The patterns emerged naturally as if bestowed by heaven. This sword embryo has already entered the ranks of divine weapons, and it is among the finest, Master Lin stated admiringly. His eyes were full of fascination as he looked at the strange patterns on the sword. Having worked with metal for most of his life and forged countless blades, it was his first time seeing the real patterns of a divine weapon. Lu Qing was also intently observing the rough sword embryo. Then, amidst the intensely bright red light, a trace of purple so faint it was almost imperceptible emerged into his sight. Divine weapon blade embryo, forged from outer heaven fallen iron, hammered over 10,000 times, this sword embryo has reached the top-level divine weapon level. Infinite tolerance. The material of outer heaven fallen iron is special, with extreme inclusivity. This sword embryo can harbor multiple force characteristics: metal, wood, water, earth, wind, fire, lightning. Nothing is inadmissible. Unbreakable. This sword embryo is extremely durable. Once properly sharpened, it can slice through iron as if it were mud, effortlessly cut through water, and split mountains. Magical treasure embryo. Owing to the exceptional quality of the material, with proper nurturing and refinement, this sword can continuously transform and evolve, with the potential to ascend to the level of a magic artifact or a spiritual artifact. To think there's a hint of purple. Lu Qing was extremely surprised as he looked at the information that emerged from the sword embryo. Indeed, the exotic treasure that even the Lihua sect had coveted and greatly revered. This outer heaven fallen iron, now merely forged into a rough embryo, already revealed a wisp of purple superpower light. Bear in mind, his Qian Kuan Qi bag in his possession, as well as the leaving fire tripod found in the underground chamber of the Wei family, these two spiritual artifacts, were only purple in color. This revealed the immense potential of the sword embryo, and the information that emerged from the embryo also confirmed this. It was not only capable of embracing various forces, but could also continuously evolve, truly nothing short of miraculous. Lu Qing naturally did not think this was due to his forging skills, even though everyone from Junta'sGaming workshop admired him greatly. But he was well aware of his own limitations. His forging skills were just at the beginning, and compared to the masters of artifact refining from the Lihua sect, they were worlds apart. The fact that this sword embryo reached such a quality was 99% due to the extraordinary nature of the outer heaven fallen iron. The material was simply too outstanding. Divine weapon. The people standing outside, upon hearing Master Lin's words, all had their mouths agape. Even Wei Xinghe was completely shaken and taken aback. Weapons of the divine weapon level, even for their Wei family, they had only one. And that was the sidearm used by the ancestral founder. Who would have thought that Lu Qin would so easily forge one? Perhaps this was something that not even the true casting grandmasters in Central State could achieve? Young Master Lu, would you need the services of our Zhu Xin workshop to polish and sharpen this sword? Master Lin became even more humble toward Lu Qin and cautiously asked, "No need for that. I have another use for this sword and won't be sharpening it just yet. Please, Master Lin, could you craft a scabbard for me?" Lu Qin shook his head. Understanding the potential of the sword embryo, it would be inappropriate to sharpen it rashly. Moreover, such a divine weapon no longer required manual sharpening. Once Lu Qin truly refined it, the divine edge would reveal itself, peerlessly sharp. "That's easy, young master. Rest assured, I will have the scabbard ready by tomorrow and send it to the mansion." Upon hearing Lu Qin's response, Master Lin felt somewhat disappointed but also secretly relieved. Frankly, if Lu Qin had really handed over the sword embryo for him to sharpen, he might not have dared to do it. After all, this was a divine weapon blade embryo, something that even a casting grandmaster might not manage to create in a lifetime. He was just a mere casting master, not even a master of casting. How could he dare to sharpen such a blade? Lu Qin took a piece of cloth from Master Lin, wrapped the sword embryo up, and slung it on his back, ready to leave with Wei Xinghe. Originally, Lu Qin had wanted to forge a...
Hey, how's it going? Milk? Milk? So it is, they, I'll put the link so that way you can go and check it out. Copy. So this is actually the third chapter. I don't know if if you're still here. I'm not sure.
We're back playing Battleship,
No.
Vat 19 style. The rules are the same, but the
No. Okay, come on. Let's go. To channel. Live stream. Okay, so I just posted the link. So this will be the third chapter of the story. And it's a pretty good story so far. I'm enjoying it. For 3 chapters that are 9 hours long, I've been enjoying it. No problem, no problem. It's there's so the channel also has a bunch of different other novels that they have on it, and it's they're pretty decent. I've listened to a few of them, and they're really good.
another treasure sword for his master, but the Outer Heaven Fallen Iron was too extraordinary. Simply forging one sword embryo had already drained most of his energy. The treasure sword for his master would have to be forged another day. When Lu Qing and Wei Xinghe emerged from Junta'sGaming workshop, they saw that many people had gathered outside. Among them were some martial artists with considerable chi blood strength. With a brief thought, he realized that the commotion he had made forging the sword embryo had likely alarmed some interested parties nearby. He did not offer any explanation and directly left with Wei Xinghe. The spies waiting outside had intended to inquire what exactly had transpired in Junta'sGaming workshop. However, upon seeing Lu Qing and Wei Xinghe, they were stunned.
Yeah, I just feel the same way. But these, I don't think these are. So these are like I said, these are novels. They have not been turned into like mangas and stuff like that. But they're pretty good. Also, a lot of them are like, I want to say a lot of them probably come from like China or Korea and stuff like that. So there's gonna be like a lot of references to those countries and the stories and stuff like that.
On the spot, gawking at them. Their earlier thoughts vanished, not daring to arise again. Therefore, no one dared to stop them as they left, only watching them depart with awe-filled gazes, not daring to move. Phew. Only after the figures of Lu Qing and his companion had completely disappeared did the spies exhale deeply, sharing bitter smiles as they wiped cold sweat from their brows. Even the thought of entering Junta'sGaming workshop to seek information was abandoned. Without thinking, they knew that the morning's tumultuous events in Junta'sGaming workshop must have involved Lu Qing and Wei Xinghe. And the identities of these two were more significant than one another. Especially Lu Qing, who had now been marked by all forces in the city as a person not to be provoked, his significance even surpassing that of Wei Mansion, who would dare to recklessly investigate matters involving them. If they learned something they weren't supposed to know, it could truly be fatal. Lu Qing was unaware that he had been designated a taboo figure among the city's various forces. In the following days, after recovering his energy, he made 2 more trips to Junta'sGaming workshop. In addition to creating some small trinkets, he used an exotic iron from Junta'sGaming workshop's collection to forge another divine weapon for his master, reaching the refinement of a top-level divine weapon. However, the potential of this divine weapon sword paled in comparison to his war saber. It could only be considered an ordinary divine weapon with almost no possibility of evolution. It wasn't that Lu Qing did not want to forge a treasure sword of Outer Heaven Fallen Iron for his master, but the remaining pieces of Outer Heaven Fallen Iron in his Qian Kuan Chi bag were too large. With his current ability, cutting Outer Heaven Fallen Iron was still too difficult. Furthermore, the fire-burning liquid he had prepared before was almost completely used up. Without fire liquid-induced Qing flames, the furnace of Junta'sGaming workshop alone could not melt the Outer Heaven Fallen Iron. Thus, Lu Qing could only settle for the second best, spending a hefty sum to purchase an exotic iron treasured by Master Lin, to forge an ordinary divine weapon for his master. Of course, despite being an ordinary divine weapon, old Dr. Qin was extremely surprised when he received this gift. Even Wei Shanhai was shocked when he saw that sword, because he realized that the quality of this divine weapon was not a bit inferior to the war saber he used. Learning that the divine weapon was forged by Lu Qing, Wei Shanhai was stunned speechless for a long time. After creating that divine weapon, Lu Qing and the others stayed for several more days. One day, they finally proposed their departure to Wei Mansion. Dr. Lu Xiao, old Dr. Qin, are you really leaving? In Wei Mansion, Wei Zian heard that Lu Qing and his company were planning to leave and immediately rushed to Yuzhu Courtyard. Then, he saw that both his father and mother were there. Indeed, we have overstayed our time in your honorable residence. It is time to return. Otherwise, the villagers might start to worry, Lu Qing nodded. During their trip, they had stayed in the county for nearly half a month. Although they had entrusted someone from Wei Mansion to send a message back to Jioli Village, the villagers could not help but worry after such a long absence. Now that the matters in the county had been settled to perfection, there was naturally no need for them to linger in the county any longer. And while the county was not bad, it imposed many restrictions, making many things inconvenient. During this time, Even when Lu Qing practiced his martial arts, he had to be extremely careful not to disturb others. So home was better, where one could delve into the mountains and regardless of the upheaval, not bother anyone else. Even old Dr. Chen felt a strong urge to return. There were still a few patients in Jiuli village whose illnesses he had not fully cured before leaving. Before departing, he had prepared their medications in advance, but they were probably running out by now. He needed to go back for follow-up consultations. Young Master Liu, what are you saying? Having you and the elder doctor stay here has been an honor for our Wei mansion. So where does this talk of disturbance come from? Wei Xinghe hurriedly said. He would love for Lu Qing and his company to live in the mansion indefinitely. Yes, young Master Liu, as long as you wish, you can stay for as long as you like. How could you ever be a disturbance? Mrs. Wei added. She did not want Lu Qing and his party to leave, especially little Yin. Teaching little Yin to read and write, and spending so much time together, she had nearly come to consider little Yin as her own daughter. Thank you all for your kindness, but we have been away from home for a long time. It's also time for us to go back and check on things. In the end, no matter how Wei Xinghe and the others tried to keep them, Lu Qing and old Dr. Chen made their intention to leave clear. Left with no choice, Wei Xinghe had to have preparations made. As for Wei Shanhai, he had not appeared at all, and it was unclear whether he was not in the mansion or simply indifferent to their departure. Before long, Wei Xinghe and the others saw Lu Qing and his party off at the city gates. You have been living quite comfortably, haven't you? Seeing the noticeably fatter ox brought to the cart by Wei Mansion servants, Lu Qing teased with a laugh. Moo. The ox, delighted at the sight of Lu Qing and his group, gave a gentle moo and affectionately nuzzled Lu Qing's hand with its head. Lu Qing began taking several boxes from the servants of the Wei family and placing them onto the ox cart. They were mostly special local products he had bought for the villagers. As for the generous thanks that Wei Mansion had prepared, they had only symbolically accepted a little, graciously declining the rest. At the realm old Dr. Chen and Lu Qing had reached, they no longer had much need for gold and silver. There were large chests of gold and silver at home that they had not yet figured out how to use. Little Yin, let's go. Having finished loading, Lu Qing called out. Goodbye, Auntie. Little Yin is going home now. Clutching little Yin said goodbye to Mrs. Wei somewhat reluctantly. Over these days, she had grown deeply attached to Mrs. Wei by being in her company every day. Mrs. Wei felt even more reluctant to let go, her tears almost falling. Little Yin, be good. When Annie has some free time, I'll visit you in Jiuli village. Really? Then little Yin will wait for you at home. Little Yan's eyes sparkled. Hearing these words, Mrs. Wei's heart sank, and tears nearly poured out, managing only to nod with emotion. Of course, it's true. The little one immediately brightened up, jumping and running towards Lu Qing before being lifted onto the ox cart. Old Dr. Chen still wore his bamboo hat, sitting at the front. Due to living in seclusion and staying deliberately low-key, other than the people of Wei Mansion, no one else in the county knew that this suddenly emerged, mysterious figure from the innate realm was the famed old Dr. Chen. Family Master Wei, you don't have to see us off any further. After accompanying a traveler for 1,000 miles, there must be a parting. Let us say goodbye here. Lu Qing bowed courteously. Brother Lu, once I've dealt with my family's affairs, I'll come to the big market to mooch some food and drink from you. Ma Gu, who had just arrived at the gate, said heartily. Haha, that would certainly be nice. I'll prepare a couple of good dishes for you then. Lu Qing laughed heartily. With laughter, old Dr. Chen snapped the whip, and with a crisp sound, the ox cart slowly started moving out of the gates. Just as when it had first arrived, the cart slowly approached from the distance. Except now, there were 2 or 3 fewer people on it. Mrs. Wei and Wei Zian watched as the ox cart slowly moved further away, their eyes tinged with redness. Initially, they had returned with a heart full of anxiety. Now, the very cart that had escorted them all the way was leaving. In that moment, a flood of emotions welled up in their hearts, a mixture of sentiments. Goodbye, Auntie. When the ox cart had traveled quite a distance and was barely visible, little Yin stood up, waving vigorously. As her tender voice carried from afar, Mrs. Wei's tears finally broke free and streamed down her face. When Lu Qing and his party had left the city, they had done so openly, making no attempt to hide their departure. Therefore, the news of their leaving soon spread throughout the city's every corner. They've really gone? Inside County Lord Mansion, Yin Songhai looked at his subordinate, who had come to report, with a grave expression. Yes, I saw it with my own eyes. Young Master Lu left on an ox cart, and that young lady was also in the cart, driven by what seemed to be an older man. Many people in the city saw it too, the subordinate confirmed. Did you see the old man's face? Yin Songhai hastily asked. I didn't see it, his confidant answered. The old man wore a wide-brimmed hat that hid his face, and I could only hear his voice, which was quite elderly and made it impossible to see his face clearly. He's still hiding his identity. Yin Songhai felt disappointed and waved his hand. All right, you may leave. After his confidant left, Yin Songhai sat there, pondered for a while, then suddenly stood up and went to the small building where the cloth-clothed youth lived. Just as he was about to knock on the door, he heard a faint voice from the side. What is it? Turning his head, he saw his good friend standing in a nearby pavilion, holding a scroll in his hand. Yin Songhai smiled and walked over. I just received news that young Master Lu and his master have already left the county. The cloth-clothed youth nodded, showing no sign of surprise on his face. Jirue, since they've left, can you now tell me who that mysterious innate realm master of young Master Lu is? Ever since the cloth-clothed youth mentioned that the sudden emergence of an innate realm figure was someone he knew, Yin Songhai had immediately started an investigation. However, after checking all the martial arts experts he knew, he still had no clue. None of their identities matched that of the mysterious innate. Later, he tried to start from Lu Qing, but it was equally baffling, because this one was even more mysterious. Nobody knew Lu Qing's background. It was as if he had appeared out of thin air before coming to the county. Not a single rumor about this youth existing in the world before that. Thus, Yin Songhai was extremely curious about the identities of these two. The cloth-clothed youth remained silent, just quietly looking at it. Yin Songhai felt a catch in his heart and forced himself to calm down. Earlier you talked about that millennium change being so terrifying that I couldn't inquire, but surely I can know the identity of this mysterious innate, since you said I know him. The cloth-clothed youth looked at Yin Songhai for a while, knowing he would not rest until he resolved this matter. So, he sighed helplessly and said, it wouldn't hurt to tell you. The innate realm master, indeed you know him very well, he is old Dr. Chen Songqing, whom you once hosted. What? Yin Songhai's eyes suddenly widened, his whole person completely stunned by this answer. It took him a long while to come back to his senses. Jirue, are you sure that the innate realm master is Elder Dr. Chen Songqing? Yin Songhai asked with some difficulty. The cloth-clothed youth glanced at him sideways, seemingly disdainful to answer that question. But how is that possible? Yin Songhai swallowed, still unable to believe it. Elder Dr. Chen, though his martial arts cultivation is decent, having achieved great success in the internal realm, his age has already passed the peak of Qi blood. Maintaining his realm without regression is already difficult. How could he possibly have achieved consecutive breakthroughs and entered the innate realm in such a short period of time? Moreover, to be so powerful that even Wang Songi, an old innate realm expert, didn't dare to cross him. The more Yin Songhai thought about it, the more unbelievable it seemed. Speaking of which, I was surprised too, the cloth-clothed youth sighed. This Elder Dr. Chen, indeed, is no ordinary person. According to the information I've gathered, he has spent his life doing good deeds, treating and salvaging lives, and can truly be described as a doctor with medical benevolence, a great benevolent man. Years of good deeds, it seems, have allowed him to accumulate merit light around him. If I'm not mistaken, it is precisely with that merit light that even when his Qi blood was declining in his old age, he was still able to defy nature, continuously break through, and step into the innate realm that countless martial artists dream of. One can say, all these results are from his vast accumulated potential, albeit his path of accumulation differed somewhat from the typical martial arts path. Merit light obtained through good deeds? At this, Yin Songhai was thoroughly dumbstruck, because he simply couldn't understand what that meant. Unfortunately, this time the cloth-clothed youth did not further explain. He shook his clothes lightly, placing the scroll on the stone table inside the pavilion. All right, since young Master Lu and the others have left, I should leave too. Songhai, thank you for your hospitality over these days. You're leaving too? Yin Songhai was caught off guard, quite shocked. Yes, I have stayed in Song County long enough, and it's time to go. However, before I leave, there are a few words I want to say to you. The cloth-clothed youth's face turned serious. This made Yin Songhai, who had intended to ask him to stay, unable to speak and could only listen quietly. Hayu, to be honest, this time coming to Song County, I am disappointed. I initially thought that during these years in Song County, you were laying low, biding your time, honing yourself. But what I see is that you are not only wasting time, but also regressing, far from the person you once were. I don't mean to be rude, but as of now, you simply aren't qualified to compete with your brothers any longer. Therefore, I advise you to give up that notion in your heart and just honestly remain here as the Lord County Master. As long as you behave, I don't think the royal capital will pay any attention to this place. That way, your mother won't have to worry every day, fearful that you will stray from the right path. The words of the cloth-clothed youth rendered Yin Haiyu utterly silent, unable to speak for a long time. All right, think it over yourself. I'm leaving. The cloth-clothed youth didn't wait for him, vanishing from the pavilion immediately after saying what he wanted to say. Jirue, Yin Haiyu gasped in surprise. Lastly, there's one more thing. Remember, don't provoke young Master Lu. The voice gradually faded away, leaving only Yin Haiyu in the pavilion, deeply melancholic. Brother, that flower is so beautiful, and that one over there too, really pretty. The ox cart traveled forward, with the scenery shifting around them. Little Yin, who was initially a bit sad from parting with Mrs. Wei, instantly cast aside her worries. Pointing at the wildflowers and weeds along the road, she kept calling out to Lu Qing. Even though she had seen them once already on the journey here, the little one still found them fresh. They are beautiful. Seeing her happy, Lu Qing also relaxed. Children truly, their sorrow comes fast and goes fast. As for little Li, it was already joyfully hopping around the ox cart, darting in and out of sight, bursting with excitement. During the stay at Wei Mansion, little Li always remembered Lu Qing's instructions not to display its talent skill arbitrarily. Hence all this while, other than showing great spiritual nature, it never did anything else out of the ordinary. Every day, it was harmless, held by little Yin, accompanying her in reading, writing, eating, and playing. Other than being very spirited, to others at the Wei Mansion, it was just like any other ordinary pet. Even Mrs. Wei, who guessed that little Li was extraordinary, had never seen its true abilities. This was exactly why little Li was somewhat stifled. Now that they had finally left the Wei Mansion, it couldn't wait to frolic to its heart's content. Owing to an early departure and no delays on the road. This time, Lu Qing and his group didn't have to spend the night on the road, but instead hurried along, arriving back at Jioli village just before dusk. We're almost home. Seeing the increasingly familiar surroundings, little Yin's expression turned excited. Having been away so long, she too missed everyone back in the village. Little Li was also standing on Lu Qing's shoulder, its eyes shining as it gazed in the direction of Jioli village. Everything was great at Wei Mansion, where it could eat its fill of fish every day, but somehow it still preferred its days in Jioli village. We are finally back. Elder Dr. Chen had already taken off his conical hat at this point, looking ahead and sighing deeply. Having lived so many years in Jioli village, he had grown quite fond of it. Master, I'll go take down the red rope. As the ox cart approached the village entrance, Lu Qing leapt off. After removing the red rope from the tree and placing it back under the stone slab, the villagers finally noticed the ox cart. Quickly, the entire village started to stir. Indeed, there's no place like home. In the early morning, Lu Qing stepped out of his house, stretched lazily, and felt extremely content. He couldn't help but smile when he remembered what had happened yesterday. At dusk the day before, their return had caused quite a stir in the village. The villagers all came running out, surrounding him and his master with endless questions. They had no choice. They had told everyone they were just going to the county city for the market, but ended up not returning for over 10 days. Despite the Wei family having sent people to deliver messages, Elder Zhang and the others were still skeptical and worried. Now that they had finally returned, they wanted to know all the details. In the end, after Lu Qing explained everything and distributed the specialties they had brought back, everyone realized it was a false alarm and slowly dispersed. Though it took quite a bit of talking, Lu Qing's heart was still warm. After all, feeling cared for was quite a nice feeling. After collecting his thoughts, he practiced nourishing body boxing twice to stretch his muscles, and then prepared breakfast in the kitchen. Seeing that little Yin and the others would still need a while to wake up, Lu Qing employed his movement technique, and within a few breaths, he had already arrived at the bamboo forest behind the mountain. Sensing that there was no one around, Lu Qing's divine soul slightly stirred, and the next moment, a war saber appeared in his hand. However, this war saber looked rather rough, both unpolished and without a sharpened edge. It was the divine weapon blade embryo that Lu Qing had previously forged at the Zhu Xin workshop from outer Heaven Fallen Iron. Since then, the sword embryo had been adjusted again and fitted with a hilt. Apart from its rough appearance and lack of sharpness, it was no different from an ordinary war saber and could be used at will. With the saber in his right hand, Lu Qing's aura abruptly changed, and an intense aura of solemnity spread around him. In the next moment, as he swung the saber, he began to practice his saber technique. The sword style was profound and flowed smoothly. The swing seemed slow, but each move contained soul-shaking power. The increasingly biting aura of solemnity caused even the insects and birds around to fall silent in fear, not daring to make a sound. After practicing the four-direction saber, Lu Qing stood holding the saber, a contemplative expression on his face. According to the martial arts experience exchange between my master and the Wei family's ancestor, once martial arts moves reach the realm of harmony of strength and gentleness with meticulous precision, the next step is to comprehend the will behind the moves. The key to this step is to ensure that one's martial arts moves are infused with a certain charm. When that charm is suffused within the moves, covered by the power of the heart and spirit, driving the moves will naturally allow you to anticipate and act before the enemy, with later actions winning over earlier ones, overpowering the weak with strength, and defeating the enemy like a bolt from the blue. Clearly, having tempered the divine soul power, I have already touched upon this realm slightly. However, due to the limitations of my divine soul power, there is a considerable journey ahead before I can fully comprehend the will. Of course, although Lu Qing was unable to grasp the complete will for the moment, he was still quite satisfied. It is known that the realm of will is typically only understood by innate realm experts. When innate realm experts step into the innate phase, they are baptized by the heaven and earth rules, which causes their divine soul power to surge. Hence, their martial arts cultivation becomes more intuitive, and comprehending the realm of will is naturally not too difficult. It was already quite an accomplishment for him to have touched upon the will, just having stepped into the inner organs realm. In the days to come, who could guarantee that before stepping into the innate realm, little Yin wouldn't attain the complete understanding of will? Moreover, what set Lu Qing apart from other martial arts experts was that, possessing superpowers, he could master any martial arts discipline at extraordinary speed regardless of what he practiced. Therefore, once he wholly grasped the realm of will, it wouldn't be a simple matter of mastering the sword intention or the saber intention. Instead, all the martial arts he practiced would become interconnected, swiftly ascending to the realm of will. So for me, cultivation is of the utmost importance. As long as the power of my divine soul increases, understanding the realm of will naturally become much easier, he said. Just right, among the legacy left by the Lihua sect, there is a minor cultivation technique well suited for my current circumstances. The legacy obtained from the Leaving Fire tripod was mostly unsuitable for this era. However, a small number of techniques could still be practiced by Lu Qing with some effort. Among them was one technique particularly fitting for Lu Qing's present situation: the furnace visualization method. This was a visualization method designed for cultivators to envision themselves in a blazing furnace, to combat the flames with the power of the divine soul, to refine and strengthen their divine soul through the fire smelting. This visualization method was a pure form of divine soul cultivation and did not rely on the circulation of spiritual energy. Hence, it could be practiced even in this era scarce of spiritual energy. However, it could only be practiced by cultivators who possess divine soul power. The threshold for its cultivation was exceedingly high for the martial artists of the current age. After all, aside from anomalies like Lu Qing, in the process of martial arts cultivation, to forge divine soul power, one must reach the grandmaster level of inner organs perfection. Out of the countless martial artists in the world, how many could actually achieve inner organs perfection? Seated cross-legged, Lu Qing activated his superpower, searched for the furnace visualization method within his mind, and began to learn through simulation. Various insights flooded his mind, and Lu Qing quickly entered a state of cultivation. The furnace visualization method comprised 3 realms of cultivation: the baking furnace temple, the melting furnace, and finally, great success in the furnace visualization. These 3 realms, one more difficult than the last, required the cultivator to act according to their ability and visualize prudently. If one's strength was insufficient, forcefully visualizing higher-level imagery could lead to self-immolation. The furnace imagery could incinerate the heart and spirit, turning one into a living dead. Being his first cultivation attempt, Lu Qing naturally did not foolishly challenge such a high level of difficulty. On the contrary, during his initial practice, he was extremely cautious. According to the visualization method's technique, he visualized a small furnace within his heart. Furthermore, its design was quite rudimentary. If little Yin could see this imagery, she would immediately recognize it as the small stove used at home for cooking porridge. After visualizing the furnace, Lu Qing transformed himself into a strand of heart and spirit power and immersed himself into the furnace. Upon entering the furnace, Lu Qing immediately felt as though he had entered a world of fire, surrounded by roaring flames on all sides. The furnace visualization method was indeed miraculous. Although the furnace was merely a product of his visualization, an illusion, Lu Qing felt as though he was genuinely being scorched by the flames, the sensation incredibly real. It seemed as if in the next moment, the body formed by his divine soul power would melt away, completely incinerated. Lu Qing dared not be careless. He immediately recited the cultivation technique mantra silently, stabilizing his heart and spirit, silently withstanding the refining heat of the furnace. In the seascape of his mind, Lu Qing found himself enclosed within a furnace. His heart and spirit were continuously tempered, evoking a feeling that in the next moment, his soul might scatter and he might perish along with his cultivation path. However, he knew that all of this was an illusion. Thus, he remained unaffected, merely reciting the cultivation technique mantra in his mind, silently enduring it all. Time passed, and the flames surrounding him gradually extinguished, the furnace dissipated, and the sliver of divine soul power returned to his acupoints. Lu Qing immediately noticed a change. He felt that his divine soul power had clearly strengthened compared to before. A hint of joy appeared in his eyes. This furnace visualization method is truly a cultivation technique from the cultivation era. Even just a first attempt at cultivation has so obviously enhanced the power of my divine soul. With such a mysterious method, to fully grasp the realm of will before reaching the innate stage is no longer an extravagant hope. Even refining the divine soul talisman is not out of reach. Thinking of the various mystical descriptions of the divine soul talisman and the divine talisman sect's inheritance, Lu Qing felt a surge of excitement. Since arriving in this world and awakening his superpower, he had obtained many inheritances. Among these, the most precious were the inheritances of the divine talisman sect and the Lihua sect. Both inheritances came from the cultivation era, but the origin of the divine talisman sect's inheritance remained a mystery. Lu Qing had not been able to uncover the past of the divine talisman sect and the inheritance. Even within the Lihua sect's inheritance, there was no mention of the divine talisman sect. Lu Qing did not know which of the two sects was stronger. But in his heart, the divine talisman sect was much more mysterious than the Lihua sect. And the path of runes was also more mysterious than the Lihua sect's techniques. Given that Lu Qing possessed extraordinary, almost cheat-like abilities, he could learn anything at an incredibly fast pace. Yet even so, he had spent a long time just to get a basic grasp of the path of runes. Up to now, he hadn't been able to refine a divine soul talisman. One could imagine the difficulty involved in the practice of runes. Moreover, the path of runes was different from ordinary cultivation methods. It stressed that all things in heaven and earth could teach one, and likewise, they could all be utilized. It wasn't limited by the availability of spiritual energy and could be used even when spiritual energy was scarce, although with reduced power. With such a powerful inheritance, Lu Qing naturally wouldn't give up. So he had never slackened in his efforts to refine the divine soul talisman. It was just that due to the limitations of his divine soul power, the speed of refinement had always been slow. Now the excellent effects of the furnace visualization method allowed him to rapidly enhance his divine soul power. The complete refinement of the divine soul talisman was in sight, so how could Lu Qing not be thrilled? After fantasizing about the future for a moment and noticing that it was getting late, Lu Qing gathered his emotions, placed the war saber into his Qian Kuan Chi bag, and headed home. Once home, he pulled Little Yin and Little Li out of their bed, urged them to wash up, and eat breakfast. Then, Lu Qing took these two little ones to the half-mountain small courtyard. "Ah Qing, Little Yin, are you heading to old Dr. Chen's place?" Along the way, villagers greeted them warmly, unable to resist taking several glances at Little Li perched on Lu Qing's shoulder. Since returning from the county, Lu Qing had not asked Little Li to conceal its identity. After all, in the county, it had revealed itself every day. Moreover, he no longer needed to worry that anyone would harm Little Li. Therefore, last night, many people in the village saw Little Li and learned that it was a pet creature raised by Lu Qing. However, because Little Li's appearance is indeed peculiar, and it possesses a remarkable spiritual nature. Even though they knew of its existence, the villagers still felt astounded. "Yes, I wonder if Master has gotten up," Lu Qing said with a smile. "He must have. I just passed by the foot of the mountain and saw old Dr. Chen practicing his boxing in the yard." After exchanging a few pleasantries with the villagers, Lu Qing took the two little ones up the mountain to Half Mountain's small courtyard, where he found his master indeed in the yard. What surprised him was that there was another person present. Mr. Ji Rue? Seeing the cloth-clothed youth drinking tea with his master under the plum tree, Lu Qing was very surprised. He had not expected to encounter this person here. Young
Yo, Amadeus, how's it going? How you doing today? Doing good, doing good. Just trying to get some levels. Same as yesterday. That's why I'm being done. I think I get what you mean. If it is what I think it is you're trying to say. Ooh, yeah, stay. Oh, okay. No, I thought you were talking about like smoking weed, eating what do you call those edibles. That's what I thought you were saying, but okay, yeah. So you actually mean Okay, I got you. Yeah, mine ain't that big. It's medium, I would say. I would say mine is about a medium size. I can do the backyard and the front yard in, let's say, maybe an hour. Damn. Yeah, so yours is probably like double, maybe even triple my size, depending on what type of mower you're using. Because I use the push mower, the one that you push. If you're using like the one that you drive, that you can actually sit on and drive around, then yeah, it's definitely gonna be triple the size of my. Oof. John Deere Rider. Okay. I haven't used one of those in years. In I want to say maybe a year or so, because back when I was in Boston before I came to Florida, I used to use a John Deere to mow the yard and stuff. But that was one of my relatives, John Deere, that I would use. Damn. Damn. You're basically a farm if that's the case. You basically live on a farm. It was that big? Damn. Okay. Come on, baby. Let me get one more level until I can get that next spiel. Oh, just two more XP bars. I keep getting the same pants. I don't want those pants. Damn. Damn, that's pretty big. Oh, come on. Yeah, 30 acres. Or maybe I'm I'm thinking too much, and maybe 30 acres isn't as big as I think it is, or maybe it is, because in my mind I'm thinking 30 acres is like, I want to say maybe the size of a football field. Or am I thinking too small? Damn. Okay, so then that is really big then. That is definitely a farm then. If it's that big. Yeah, I can imagine. It probably takes a lot of fuel as well. Because when I would use the John Deere, I would use half the fuel tank to mow the yard back at the place that we was at before in Boston. It would take half a tank, so I can only imagine. Oh yeah, it's you if you got a pond on your on your property, it's definitely a farm. I wouldn't say just because there's a barn that it's a farm, because there are other people who have barns in their yard, but it's not a farm. It's just, a place that they store a bunch of stuff. God dang. Hmm. Ah, okay, I see. Yeah, when I was growing up, when I was under 10 years old, um, we had a small. It wasn't a farm, but we had like a small little um animal thing going on in the backyard. We had like ducks, chickens. I think there was a goat. Um, we had a few animals that we used to have, and I'm telling you, I guess it's because I'm not used to going on farms and stuff like that, but it smelled really bad. That's the one thing about farms that I'm pretty sure I would never be able to do is the smell. I don't do good with bad smells. Okay, yeah, I am seeking. Okay, just 2 more bars and then I can learn this spell, Ring of Frost. I hope this is what I think it is. I'm hoping this is what I think it is. Okay, reduce the cooldown of your gold snap ice barrier, frozen orb, and summon water element. What is this? Is frozen orb. God dang, that's an old property then. Is it a family property that's been in the family for so long, or is it like something that was bought? Nice. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Must wait, I don't think back in that time plumbing was a thing, was it? Okay, so it's a generational thing. That's pretty dope. That's dope. Dang, 104 hoops. That is nuts. Damn, that's pretty cool though. Reaching that age, but I just feel like when you reach like around those age, it must be like really difficult to like do stuff, because I've seen like a few people who's not even 90 years old, and they can barely they can't carry bags anymore. They usually have to have somebody come over to help out with the property and stuff like that. I see. Oh. Yeah, I want to say maybe 3 or 4 years ago was when my grandparents passed away. It was during COVID. It was during COVID time. I don't know if it was because of COVID that they passed away, but it was during around those time when my grandma, my grandpa, and one of my aunts passed away, which is I can understand it with my grandparents because they were like 80. My grandmother had Alzheimer's, I think it is, and soon after, like I want to say like a half a month or a month after my grandmother passed away, my grandfather passed away. It was difficult during those times too, but oh shit, when it's time, it's time. Yeah, I don't think I would ever make it that long either. I'd be happy if I make it to 60. Alright, cool. It's not like what do you call it? A countryman. I think that's the word I'm looking for. I'm not going nowhere. I'm here.
Young Master Lu. The cloth-clothed youth nodded in greeting to Lu Qing with a slight smile. Mr. Jirue, how come you are here? Has something happened in the county again? Lu Qing couldn't help asking. In his memory, the whereabouts of this person were always somewhat elusive, and he never showed up unless there was a significant matter. And in recent days, he had also learned some information about Tianji building from the ancestors of the Wei family, which left him quite wary of this individual. He knew that the other party not only possessed a lot of hidden information unknown to others, but he also seemed to have a superpower with extremely keen powers of insight. All is peaceful in the county, according to the message I received from Tianji building, that Wang Songi has already led his disciples back to Tian Song sect. Young Master Lu don't need to worry. As for me, I have left the county and am preparing to travel elsewhere, the cloth-clothed youth explained. Then Mr. Jirue, what brings you here this time? Naturally, I missed the floral tea made by old Dr. Chen, the cloth-clothed youth said with a smile. The tea I got from the elder doctor that day has already been squandered by myself, and now craving it. I can only come and shamelessly ask for a few more cups to drink before I leave. Hee, that's easy. It's rare for Mr. Jirue to enjoy it so much. Just wait, and the old man will send you some more as a farewell gift, old Dr. Chen chuckled. Then Jirue would like to thank the elder doctor here, the cloth-clothed youth happily said. After securing the floral tea, the cloth-clothed youth's expression then turned serious. Of course, my visit this time is not only to ask for tea from you, elder doctor, but also to discuss a few matters with you, he said. Lu Qing, he knew that this person coming over couldn't possibly be just for a bit of floral tea. Please speak, Mr. Jirue. It was obvious that the elder doctor had expected this, so there was no surprise on his face. The first matter concerns young Master Lu. Concerning me? Lu Qing was taken aback. Correct. I just received news that just yesterday, the Seven Killings Tower officially issued a 7 Killings order against you to carry out an assassination. 7 Killings order. Lu Qing's complexion gradually grew solemn and became a bit grave. Indeed. So young Master Lu, you are now famed throughout the assassin world. You should know that 7 Killings Tower's 7 Killings order is rarely issued, not even once in many decades, and countless people want to know just who has provoked the 7 Killings Tower into dispatching a 7 Killings order to hunt them down. If possible, I would rather not have such fame, Lu Qing said somewhat helplessly. Being the center of attention in the assassin world, even he could not help but feel pressured. Young Master Lu, with your martial arts prowess, from the moment you decided to go to the county to save the Wei family, you were destined to rise to fame and shake the world. The cloth-clothed youth shook his head and said, the second matter I want to discuss still relates to you. Oh? Lu Qing raised an eyebrow. Could there be something worse than an assassination attempt? This time, it should be good news. The cloth-clothed youth took a scroll from his and placed it on the table. This is a list called the Hidden Dragon List. It is a list compiled by Tianji Building, gathering young talents and genius martial artists from all over the world. It is a list that countless young martial artists dream of being included in. And young Master Lu, you're on the list. Hidden Dragon List? Lu Qing looked at the scroll on the stone table. May I ask Mr. Jirue, what is the Hidden Dragon List? The Hidden Dragon List is a ranking compiled by Tianji Building, selecting the top 100 postnatal realm martial artists from all over who have the most hope of advancing to the innate realm. Once a martial artist enters the innate realm, not only does their lifespan greatly increase, but they also possess various extraordinary
Ooh. In ground, yeah, I ain't allergic to them, but I have this weird fear of them. It's not so bad that I would, if I see them, that I'll like act like a little scaredy cat or whatever. But growing up, I've been stung by enough bees to have not really a fear, but not want to, not want to get stung by them again. But yellow jackets, oof. I've never stung by a yellow jacket. Have good about that, but from what I heard, it's not nice. Hey, bees and snakes. I'm okay. I'm okay with snakes. I'm not too bad with snakes. I would say I'm more dislike bees than I dislike snakes. Because depending on the snake, it's no problems, because certain snakes, they don't have the fangs, and some of them they're not even poisonous. So if they bite you, it doesn't sting, or it doesn't hurt too much. It'll feel like a prick, but it wouldn't be so bad that it'll make you like, well, most people instinctively, most people react, scared, waving their arm around and stuff like that. But yeah, it all depends on the type of snakes. And you deal frost damage with a mage or shaman spell. You have a 7% chance to grant Finger of Frost, which treats your next 2 mage spells as if they're frozen. Okay, I'll grab this one as well. Increase critical chance with all spells and abilities by 1. Non-Sunfrost spells. Damage has 8. Supply. Winter Chill. Effect. Increasing the chance spells will critically strike a target by 1. I don't know about that one. So we'll do this. Increase the damage some more. Okay. Shaman have ice spells? Elementals? Enchantments, restoration. I don't need restoration. I think I might put some heal into Red Mage and play it. Need to buy a few spells. I forgot when refresh. Refresh. I think refresh is level 41 or 42, somewhere around there. But it's definitely closer. It's definitely close to level 40. And if I remember correctly, it's like almost, yeah. Yeah, it's 41, 42, somewhere, one of those two. But also it is expensive. It is really expensive. Last time I checked on the market, I think I saw, I want to say maybe around like 200,000. I want to. Oh, sorry. I want to level up Black Mage some more, but my problem is I'll be seeking for hours and no invites. That's the one thing about Black Mage that I get annoyed by. Did you get all of the avatars for Summoner? Can do Trio Black Mage too. No, I don't have. So I have all of the primary avatars. I don't have Fenrir, and I do not have Diablos because Diablos is I have to do Chains of Promethea, and I haven't even started Chains of Promethea yet. Quests, missions, I haven't even started that yet. And Diablo, no Fenrir, I cannot get like a full. I can't get people to run all of the other avatars that I need to to get all of the whispers because I need the other whispers in order to do to so I've got the water whisper and the wind whisper, but I still need the other four, I think it is. Yeah, the other four. I need the other four in order to do Fenrir. Um, it all depends on it all depends on who. Like if you have a level 75 beastman, it wouldn't be hard. It'll be pretty easy. Um, if you have multiple level 70s, it'll be easy, but I definitely recommend having a level 70. I would definitely recommend having a level 70 if you're gonna do that. Okay, I want to try something real quick. Okay, we're gonna choose this. Yeah, I don't want an angry face. I thought they added mini forks too that you could solo. You can. It'll be. I wouldn't say easy, but it'll definitely be it'll be between easy and medium. Yeah, yeah. I have not done the mini avatars. I've done um the the full level avatar runs. I'll probably go with that one. So I can't be sure on how tough it is. Wait, what? Okay, I do a tank. Okay. It's a hybrid tank. Thunder, no.
The plague bear?
Magic tank. Nope. Melee tank. There it is.
Transform into Carnage Incarnate, a savage beast fueled
Okay.
with blood and fury. Rend foes with sharpened claws that carve into every enemy hit, causing them to bleed. As your health wanes, you drink the blood of your foes to restore your health, turning their pain into your survival. Tear through multiple enemies at once, in case your
Yeah, I did the same thing. I waited until so well I got mine. I think I want to say I got mine to level 5, and then I did all of the avatar runs and got it. Okay, let's see if they give me that bear form. so that way I don't have to spend money on purchasing a bear form with real money. Real money.
For 10,000 years, immortal night elves cultivated a druidic society within the shadow recesses of Ashvale Forest.
Probably go grab something to eat just now.
Catastrophic invasion of the Burning Legion shattered the tranquility of their ancient city. Led by the Archdruid Malfurion Stormrage and the priestess Tyrande Whisperwind, the mighty night elves rose to challenge
But yeah,
the demonic onslaught.
I would say
The night elves
at least get one avatar. Aside beside Carbuncle, at least get one avatar, because they'll do much more damage than Carbuncle. So that way you can at least level up to 10.
To the eternal world. Despite Malfurion's warnings that nature would never bless such a selfish act, the druids planted the great tree Teldrassil off the stormy coasts of northern Kalimdor. Within the twilight boughs of the colossal tree, the wondrous city of Darnassus took root. However, the great tree was not consecrated with nature's blessing, and soon fell prey to the corruption of the Burning Legion. Now the wildlife, and even the limbs of the great tree itself, are tainted by a growing darkness. As one of the few night elves still left in the world, it is your sworn duty to defend Darnassus and the wild children of nature against the Legion's encroaching corruption.
Okay, let's see. Will it give me that bear form or not? Oh, yeah, it gave it to me. Nice. No, it did not. Are you serious? Come on. I don't want this bear form. I want the other bear form. That's why I chose this in the first place. Yeah, no. Let's delete this character. That didn't give me a bear form, so I think I might use delete. I think I might have to purchase one, but at the same time, I want to save. I want to save what I do have. Oh, excuse me. Oh, excuse me. So, at the same time, I do want to save the amount that I have here for when eventually these stuff go on sale. For when these stuff get, oh, there's a sale on this one, but I'm 5 short, which sucks. Damn, this is a 55%. No, I need a 60% sale in order to be able to purchase it. So yeah, that's why I'm not using what I have here, because I'm hoping that I'll be able to grab one of it. Like, it'll drop so much, it'll drop to 40, because normally this one is 200, this one is 100, this one's 100, and I need it to drop down to 40 in order to actually get these. Oh, you can't even see that because of the screen. There we go. So yeah, I need these to get down to 40. This is at a 55% discount. I need a 60% discount on it. Okay, let us. You know what? I think I might grab something to eat. Let me see. Let me go see what it has to eat. I'll be right back. Give me a couple minutes. Okay, I am back. I'm back with some food. No offhand how much refresh is. I can look it up. I'm just lazy right now. Oh wow, 350k. Oh shit! I thought it was like 200. The last time I checked, it looked like it was 200, around 200,000 or so. But damn, 300. That is a lot. Yeah, I don't think I'll be leveling Red Mage anytime soon, if that is the case. Oof. Buy a build, bro. Yeah, I'm always broke, so. I hate to. No, this will be not good. But damn, put this. Damn, that is a lot. I'd have to. For me, in order to get that much, I'm gonna have to probably sell Moon Orb to to make that 300. No, I think I took a little too much rice. To make that 300,000. Because from the little bit of farming that I do, I haven't farmed in a while. But the little bit that I have done, I've gotten nowhere near 50,000. So that's gonna be crazy. Yeah, if you're going to level Red Mage, it's definitely a must at level 40 plus, because if you don't have it, you won't get invites. Can solo Star Orbs or Ninja. I'm not sure what level is that supposed to be. Is that 30, 40? Because the only thing I know is 50 seals. Okay. The only thing I do know is the Moon Orb and the worm one. I forget what it's called. Those are the only two BCNMs that I know of. Tell you, these Draenei women are damn sexy. Okay, let's see if we can. I want to try to get to level 40 at least. I'm glad that I'm not a tank or a healer, so I can focus on eating and just do damage. Not have to worry about other people's HP, or not worry about the amount of mobs there are. Wow, the drop rate probably really bad though. If it sells for that much, drop rate's probably got to be really like maybe like a 1% or something, or even worse than that. if selling for that much, I cannot imagine it being, you know, a high drop rate. Hmm. Okay, my luck's pretty. My luck does be pretty bad. I don't think I've ever actually. Let me think about it. I cannot remember if in retail my luck has ever so good that I actually got a good spell or something from BCNM. Because I remember trying to do BCNM for the second Shadow Clone Jutsu skill. I tried doing it for Erase, and I don't think I've ever gotten any of those. That's pretty cool. I'll try one of these days. I'll probably have to get like a specific job to those levels. You know, to do it, I'm not sure. I'd probably although it's not fun soloing it, I'll probably try and get parties as much as I can to try and level up Beastman. So maybe I can like do a bunch of BCNMs with it. Damn. That must be a pain to willingly, purposely de-level. I don't think I could ever do de-leveling, purposely de-level. It'll pain too much for me. Ooh. Do they know I'm in? That's why I'm not getting no party invites. I mean dungeon invites, not party. Pieces of bones. That's what I see, man. Putting you know, taking out stuff from my mouth so much is when the bones cook for when the meat on the bones cook to the point they can come off just from sucking on it. without biting and stuff like that. The bones also break apart pretty easy. Who is crying? Why am I hearing crying? Is it you? Two minutes to D level, 10 minutes to D level. Yeah, I it would hurt me too much to D level, especially from those low levels where you got solo. You can't form parties to get good enough XP. Like, that'll kill me. Damn. That seems like honestly, it seems like a little 50 in an hour. It seems slow. I don't know what the actual rate is, but I probably wouldn't have to. I probably wouldn't need to worry about Beastman Seal for a while, because I've got about 3 stacks of Beastman Seals. One every 5 minutes in party, if not zone, and then 1 in 6 chance of you getting it. Oh, okay. Here's everybody. What's going on here? Okay, you got the brains. Brains. Yo, is this another one? That good brain. Where you going, man?
Extraordinary abilities, as if they were flying dragons in the sky, vast and boundless. Hence, the list is named Hidden Dragon, Lu Qing. He had thought that with such a resounding name like Hidden Dragon List, it would be something extraordinary. Turns out it's just a preliminary list for the innate realm. Had Lu Qing been an ordinary country lad, perhaps he would have found the Hidden Dragon List impressive. But he wasn't, so he could only maintain a polite smile. It wasn't that Lu Qing looked down on the list. Rather, as someone possessing multiple inheritances, he knew that on the path of cultivation, the innate realm was just the beginning and far from being considered the achievement of a true dragon. Thus, he found it difficult to evaluate this list. What kind of person was the cloth-clothed youth? Seeing Lu Qing's calm demeanor, he could tell right away that the young man wasn't impressed by the Hidden Dragon List. And so, he fell slightly silent. He suddenly remembered that the youth before him was unlike any martial arts prodigies he had ever seen. His talent was devilishly overwhelming. To other postnatal realm martial artists and even martial arts grandmasters, the innate realm might be a formidable chasm. To cross it, one must exert tremendous effort and blood, and with indispensable luck, one might break through. But for Lu Qing, it was hardly a difficult realm to reach. For a genius who was almost certain to step into the innate realm, was it really a matter of honor to be on the Hidden Dragon List? The cloth-clothed youth felt Lu Qing's thoughts, so he could only keep to his silence. The courtyard suddenly fell into a somewhat awkward atmosphere. Lu Qing sensed this awkwardness and felt it was somewhat impolite to treat a guest in this manner. After some thought, he still asked, "Mr. Jirue, may I know what place I hold on this Hidden Dragon List?" However, what Lu Qing hadn't expected was that once he asked the question, the cloth-clothed youth became even more silent. After a long while, he replied, "29th." Lu Qing was somewhat surprised. It seems the world is truly full of hidden tigers and dragons, with numerous martial arts prodigies. I wonder, who are the martial arts experts ranked ahead of me? Most of those ranked before you are martial arts grandmasters who have reached the perfection of the postnatal realm for quite some time. Some have even tempered their own divine soul power and are just a step away from entering the innate realm. Lu Qing nodded. The breakthrough from the postnatal realm to the innate realm, one of the most crucial keys is divine soul power. Since these martial arts masters have come this far, they are only separated by a thin line from the innate realm. It made sense for them to be ranked ahead of him. What Lu Qing didn't know was that on the Hidden Dragon List, not only those ranked before him, but most of those ranked after him were also martial arts grandmasters, with the least skilled among them being powerful warriors who achieved the great success of the internal organs realm. And nearly all were famous, having considerable reputations in the world. However, the cloth-clothed youth, realizing that the Hidden Dragon List didn't matter much to Lu Qing, had no heart to speak further of it. The Hidden Dragon List rankings are updated every 6 months. This copy, I'll leave here. Young Master Lu, when you're bored, you can have a look to acquaint yourself with the martial arts experts of this day and age. The cloth-clothed youth handed the scroll to Lu Qing. After receiving it, Lu Qing put it away without looking at it immediately. The cloth-clothed youth didn't mind and instead said, "Old Dr. Chen, the last matter Mr. Jirue has to mention concerns you." "Oh, please speak freely. Within the next 10 years, the world may see great upheaval, chaos will arise, and the struggle between good and evil may rear its head again. Even Holy Mountain may find it difficult to cope. Elder Doctor, you possess an opportunity to cultivate in the Holy Pool. If you do not wish to forfeit it, it would be best to use this chance within 5 years. Otherwise, you might waste this fortune." The cloth-clothed youth's expression was grave. "Great chaos will arise. What do you mean by that?" The elder doctor's expression sharpened as he asked, "What exactly the chaos will be, I too am unaware, but this is the prophecy left by the founder of Tianji Building, and it should not be mistaken." After some thought, the elder doctor replied, "The old man understands. If nothing arises within these few years, I plan to make a trip to Central State." These recent days, through exchanges with Wei Shanha, the elder doctor had learned a lot. Moreover, upon hearing that Lu Qing had received the 7 Killings order from the 7 Killings Tower, it made him take cultivation more to heart. "That's good to hear. It's getting late, elder doctor. I should also take my leave." Seeing that all the matters he had come to address were settled, the cloth-clothed youth prepared to bid farewell. So soon to leave. Ah Ching, go inside and fetch some floral tea for Mr. Ji Rue to take with him. Once the cloth-clothed youth had left, Lu Qing finally took out the hidden dragon list. He still did not directly open it to read, but activated his superpower, focusing his gaze. A faint golden hue emerged from the scroll. Gold? Lu Qing was surprised. It was merely a list, and yet it bore a gold quality? Interesting. Lu Qing looked at the few words on it. Hidden Dragon List. Rankings based on information collected by TNG Building from numerous postnatal realm martial artists worldwide, calculated and compiled. This list records the top 100 postnatal martial artists worldwide who are considered by TNG Building to have the most potential to break through to the innate realm. Once ranked on the Hidden Dragon List, one gains attention from people all around the world and receives an imperceptible enhancement of fate, which makes their cultivation journey smoother. Does this Hidden Dragon List actually have the effect of gathering fate? After reading the few lines of information, Lu Qing was genuinely surprised. Previously, he found it a bit odd that martial artists held the Hidden Dragon List in such high regard from the way the cloth-clothed youth spoke. So that was the case. It seemed that his inclusion on this list wasn't entirely bad news. Lu Qing unrolled the scroll, and immediately he searched downward. Then, at the 29th position, he found his own name. Songstate Lu Qing, 17 years old, initiate of the Internal Realm. The information was extremely concise, revealing nothing more than his name, age, and cultivation level. Lu Qing then looked at the other names on the list. Their displayed information was similar to his. At most, some entries included the sect or family to which the person belonged. Other information, such as the cultivation techniques practiced and preferred weapons, was completely undisclosed. Lu Qing was quite satisfied with this. It showed that TNG Building was discreet and did not reveal too much about those ranked. He searched the list again and indeed found a few familiar names. One was the cloth-clothed youth's name, which ranked above his, in the 17th position. There were also two others, Wei Xinghe and the stout man from Heavenly Tsang sect, Zhao Xiong. The rankings of these two were not far apart, one ranked 78 and the other 81. However, even two martial arts grandmasters who had reached perfection in the internal realm could only rank so low. It appeared that there were indeed numerous martial arts experts in the world. Lu Qing looked further and found that there were even names of disciples from the Seven Killings Tower. The most formidable among them was someone named Tan Lang, who was ranked 9th on the list, impressively. Most importantly, Lu Qing noticed a pattern. None over the age of 30 were ranked in the top 50. Even in the latter 50, the oldest was merely 48 years old, which was still considered prime age for a martial artist. In other words, the Hidden Dragon List was actually a very youthful list. The martial artists listed were all in their prime state. It makes sense. This Hidden Dragon List ranks those most likely to break through to the innate realm of martial arts experts. Once someone passes 30 years, their body's chi blood begins to gradually decline from its peak, and the probability of breaking through to the innate realm correspondingly decreases. The rankings of Wei Family Master and that Zhao Xiong are probably affected by their ages as well. Lu Qing briefly pondered and understood the underlying reasons. Not everyone has the talent and fortune of his master. His master, who created nourishing body boxing, even though being of older age, had always maintained excellent energy. He disliked competing with others and nearly had no health issues or injuries. After taking Earth Vein spiritual liquid, not only had his body recovered to its peak, but he had also successfully cultivated divine soul power. Moreover, he was protected by merit light. That allowed him to step into the innate realm in his old age, creating a miracle that seemed almost impossible. For other older martial artists who had surpassed the age of 50 or 60, without the accumulation and fortune like his masters, attempting another breakthrough would probably be harder than reaching the skies. This is why the Hidden Dragon List did not feature names of aged grandmasters. After briefly browsing through the Hidden Dragon List, Lu Qing rolled it up, planning to study it more thoroughly when he had time. "Master, what are you thinking about?" After putting away the Hidden Dragon List, Lu Qing looked up and saw his master with a slightly furrowed brow, lost in thought. "I was thinking about what Mr. Ji Rue just said. Previously, in Wei Mansion, I also heard people discussing the Millennium Turmoil. I wonder if it's the same event he mentioned where great chaos is about to unfold." The elder doctor was somewhat troubled. After hearing what the cloth-clothed youth said about the upcoming great chaos, for some reason, he felt a sense of premonition rising in his heart. It seemed to relate to something extremely important. Lu Qing thought for a moment and finally said, "Perhaps the disciple knows a little about what Mr. Ji Rue was talking about." "Ah Qing, you know?" The elder doctor raised his head in astonishment. The disciple isn't entirely sure, but recently, I found a peculiar book in an old bookstore in the county. It recorded some very unusual information. According to what the carefree wanderer said, if his calculations are correct, the so-called spiritual energy resurgence might be happening in our era. And what Mr. Ji Rue described as the millennium turmoil and the arising great chaos might be referring to this. Lu Qing recounted some of the things recorded in the casual notes left by the carefree wanderer. The cultivation era, spiritual energy resurgence? After listening to Lu Qing's explanation, the elder doctor was dumbfounded. He never imagined that this matter would even relate to events from tens of thousands of years ago in ancient times. However, the cultivation era, does it truly exist, and are there really immortals in this world? The elder doctor felt somewhat incredulous. Although he was an innate realm expert himself, he had always regarded tales of gods and immortals as mere legends. Now, hearing that gods and immortals truly existed, it was indeed a significant shock to his beliefs. The disciple also finds it unbelievable, but after witnessing certain things, I feel that it may not be so illusory, like the big cauldron in the underground chamber of the Wei family, for instance, Lu Qing reminded. The elder doctor suddenly came to a realization. Indeed, the big cauldron of the Wei family was truly miraculous. Not only did it contain a mysterious Taoist charm, but according to what Wei Shanhai said, it originally only had the size of a fingertip and yet had grown so large over 100 years. A self-growing big cauldron, no matter how you look at it, does not seem like an ordinary object. Perhaps only those celestial beings with profound divine skills could create such a mysterious artifact. Looking at it this way, what Mr. Ji Rue said about the millennium turmoil must indeed refer to this matter of spiritual energy resurgence, the elder doctor sighed. Originally, he thought that what the cloth-clothed youth talked about was at most conflicts between sect forces or perhaps another war between commanderies was about to erupt. He didn't expect it to involve such a monumental shift of heaven and earth. But faced with such a monumental shift, how should they respond? For a moment, the elder doctor felt somewhat lost. "Master, there's no need to worry too much. If the sky falls, there will be tall ones who will hold it up." Lu Qing, seeing his master's bewilderment, offered some comfort. Although Mr. Ji Rue did not specify the cause of the great change, I think he surely knows something, and even if he isn't clear, the powerful sects behind him must have some understanding. These sects certainly wouldn't want the world to descend into chaos, so let's just wait and see how things unfold. The elder doctor came to a realization. Indeed, if the carefree wanderer could find the jade, those sects with thousands of years of inheritance, possessing vast resources and power, must know even more hidden information. They probably have prepared well in advance for the great change's arrival. In that case, why was he worrying here? Let it be. After all, we are just doctors, people of humble words and limited influence. Treating and saving people is our duty. The grand affairs of the world should be left to those major sects to worry about. After reflecting on this, the elder doctor somewhat relieved himself and spoke in a light-hearted tone. Seeing this, Lu Qing secretly breathed a sigh of relief. It was good that his master, though kind-hearted, always considered himself merely a doctor and did not harbor any grand ambitions to save the world. Otherwise, if he got too fixated, Lu Qing really didn't know how he would be able to advise him. While Lu Qing and his master were having a casual conversation, he was unaware that at this moment, the outside world was being turned upside down due to the hidden dragon list rankings just released by the Tianji building. The reason, naturally, was because his name appeared on it. Tianji Building's hidden dragon list had always received considerable attention from various forces throughout the world. After all, martial artists who made it onto the list represented a significant probability of breaking through to the innate realm. Innate realm experts were exceptionally powerful, even within the top sects. They were considered pillars of strength and were not to be underestimated by any force. Countless martial artists around the world took pride in making it onto the hidden dragon list, for that signified true fame and recognition throughout the land. Most martial artists diligently practiced cultivation, all for the sake of fame and fortune. Those who made it onto the hidden dragon list were considered renowned throughout the world, and how could many people remain unmoved by that? Therefore, whenever the half-yearly announcement day of the hidden dragon list approached, It was the busiest time for Tianji building. This time was no exception. From early in the morning, many martial artists were already staking out the branches of Tianji building in every state and county, all eager to get the first look at the list. Among them, there were spies sent by various major sects as well. Then, when the list was posted, everyone was shocked, because a name they were completely unfamiliar with had appeared. Lu Qing from Song State. Who is this person, and how come I've never heard of them? Just at the initial realm of the internal organs, yet ranked 29th, ahead of numerous martial arts grandmasters? A 17-year-old martial artist in the internal realm. Which sect from Song State has cultivated such a core disciple? Almost everyone was captivated by the name Lu Qing on the list. It couldn't be helped. The information displayed on the list was simply too astonishing. A 17-year-old martial artist at the initial realm of the internal organs, making his first appearance on the Hidden Dragon list ranked 29th, ahead of numerous martial arts grandmasters. Any of these details, when applied to any other martial artist, would already be remarkable. Now all concentrated on one individual, these details delivered a real shock to the people. So much so that some even doubted whether Tianji building had made a mistake in their information. Not to mention anything else. But how could a martial artist at the initial realm of the internal organs rank ahead of so many martial arts grandmasters? Faced with skepticism, Tianji building quickly responded. The ranking was correct, and the information on the list was also entirely accurate. There was no need to worry about errors. The credibility of Tianji building was still very much guaranteed. Since they claimed there was no mistake, it must indeed be true. As a result, after Tianji building's response came out, the martial artists of the world were truly astounded. There was actually such a young prodigy in the world, able to enter the ranks of the Hidden Dragon list at the age of 17. Which sect had nurtured such an extraordinary genius? Many sect forces couldn't help but develop a strong interest. But to try to get information from Tianji building? Forget about it. Tianji building had introduced the Hidden Dragon list over 1,000 years ago and had never disclosed more than some simple information about those on the list. If they wanted to find out who this Lu Qing really was, they would have to investigate on their own. For a time, countless forces set out to send people to Song State to investigate. Of course, not all powers were completely ignorant of Lu Qing. In Qingyun's sword pavilion of Jizhou, in a small building, several elders were sitting opposite each other. A list was placed on the table in front of them, clearly the Hidden Dragon list. Lu Qing from Song State. One of the bearded old men, looking at the name on the list, fell into thought. Then he asked, a few days ago, didn't Ming Jian and the others encounter a young prodigy while out for experience, who also seemed to be named Lu Qing in Song State? That's right, another elder with short hair nodded. And they also said that this young prodigy's martial arts talent was astonishingly brilliant. Rumor has it that with a perfect bones and muscle status, he had defeated a martial arts grandmaster, and they even witnessed with their own eyes how he, with his bare fists, captured a heavenly gang assassin from the 7 Killings Tower, Heavenly Orphan, within several dozen breaths. This is so unbelievable that when I first received the letter, I thought Ming Jian and the others were deceived, listening to rumors, and I was quite angry. But after carefully questioning the disciple who brought back the letter, I found that it seemed not to be a rumor, but indeed a fact. Coincidentally, just the other day, the 7 Killings order was issued by 7 Killings Tower, seeking to hunt someone by the name of Lu Qing. Thus, it can be seen that what Ming Jian and others reported was not false. Letting the 7 Killings order be issued must be no mistake. The Lu Qing they spoke of must be the same one on the Hidden Dragon list. The bearded elder nodded. The same name and surname, both in Song State, and both young prodigies, such coincidences couldn't possibly exist in the world. The bearded elder at once confirmed that the Lu Qing on the Hidden Dragon list and the one mentioned in the sect disciples' communication were the same person. Considering this, his heart grew even more astonished. A 17-year-old in the internal realm, with perfect bones and muscles, defeating a martial arts grandmaster. I did not expect such an exceptional genius to exist in this world. No wonder Tianji building ranked him on the Hidden Dragon list. Such a naturally gifted genius, if not qualified to be on the Hidden Dragon list, then hardly anyone in the world would qualify. It's just a wonder which sect force could have cultivated such a young prodigy. According to what Ming Jian said in the letter, this Lu Qing's mentorship is very mysterious, only knowing that his master is a mysterious figure from the innate realm. But that day at Wei Mansion, they had no chance to meet him, said the elder with short hair. An unknown innate realm expert. Who could it be? The bearded elder wondered. Unfortunately, Mingjian and his companions have not yet returned from their travels. Otherwise, we could ask them in detail about the situation at that time. The information in the letter was limited, and many details could not be conveyed thoroughly. Thus, they were unable to obtain more information. Since this Lu Qing already has a master, we shouldn't inquire too much and risk causing their displeasure, said the bearded old man after some thought. The presence of an innate realm master clearly suggested that considerable power backed him. If they probed too deeply and caused displeasure, creating unnecessary enemies, it would be a loss not worth the gain. Thus, after a brief discussion, the bearded old man decided to put the matter aside for the time being. Today, in addition to the hidden dragon list, I have called you here for a more crucial matter concerning the millennial change. As soon as these words were spoken, the expressions of the elders immediately turned solemn. Sect Master, is the millennial change really upon us? Asked a thin elder, unable to contain himself. Judging by the recent movements of various sects over the years, it seems indisputable, replied the bearded old man seriously. This matter relates to the future glory of our sword pavilion, and we cannot afford any negligence. But what exactly is this millennial change, and how do we address it if its nature is still unclear to us? Another elder asked. What the millennial change entails is probably only known to the 4 great secret places and ancient sects like Tianji Building and 7 Killings Tower, which have endured for millennia. Unfortunately, our sword pavilion's heritage is still somewhat lacking. But even without knowing the cause, we cannot just sit and wait. We must do something, lamented the bearded old man. The other elders also fell into silence. The feeling of knowing that a major change was imminent, yet not knowing the reasons, was truly frustrating. Suddenly, one elder said, "How about we consult Junior Master? With his extensive knowledge and experience, he surely knows some inside information." With these words, the expressions of all the elders changed abruptly, becoming somewhat unnatural. It seemed that the previous suggestion had mentioned a particularly special individual, whom they all greatly feared. However, they also knew that it was a viable suggestion. If anyone knew some secrets, it would indeed be him. After all, this individual had once dared to desecrate the grave of the founder of their sect in his quest for answers. Yet, thinking of Junior Master's temperament made everyone hesitate. With his hatred towards the sect, would he truly be willing to help? After a while, the bearded old man finally sighed, "Let me go. Junior Master was fondest of me back in the day. Perhaps, in consideration of our past affinity, you will be willing to disclose some information. After all, he also grew up here." A quarter of an hour later, the bearded old man, carrying a bamboo basket, appeared on a cliff behind the sword pavilion. Beside the cliff, there was a half-man-high small cave entrance, dark and deep, its destination unknown. This place was a forbidden area of the sect. Apart from the sect master and a few supreme elders, no one else was allowed near. The bearded old man hesitated at the entrance for a moment, then ultimately bowed and entered. After walking about 10 steps inside the cave, it suddenly opened up. The cave walls were spacious and tall, allowing him to walk upright. Following the passage for a while, he suddenly heard the sound of water ahead. After turning a bend, a vast cave chamber appeared before him. Light filtered from above, giving a faint illumination to the cave. Inside was also a small pond with flowing water. The bearded old man ignored the scenery and walked directly to the cave wall beside the pond. Bowing respectfully, he said, "Greetings, Junior Master." Except for the sound of flowing water, no other sound echoed in the cave. After a while, a hoarse voice finally spoke up. "I wondered who it was. It turns out to be our sect master. How so? Leaving your sword pavilion and coming to see this old man in his twilight years?" A look of embarrassment flashed across the bearded old man's face. "It's my nephew's fault. Managing sect affairs all these years, I have not been able to find the time to pay my respects to Junior Master." "Pay respects? That sounds nice," the voice said sarcastically. "But wasn't it you, our esteemed sect master, who imprisoned me here in the first place? Why bother putting on such an act now? Junior Master, although my nephew failed you in the past, I do not regret what I did," the bearded old man said firmly. "The disaster you caused back then was too great. If we did not give the other party an explanation, the entire sword pavilion would have been destroyed in no time. As the sect master, I had to prioritize the sect. I had no choice but to wrong you, Junior Master. So back then, you used my trust in you to secretly poison me, away all my cultivation, and imprison me in this dark place without sunlight?" The voice spoke emotionlessly. Junior Master's cultivation was profound. We were no match for you in a direct confrontation. We could only resort to such a stratagem. It was my fault, Junior Master. If you hold resentment in your heart, I accept any reproach you may have. The voice was silent for a while before suddenly sighing. Forget it. Forget it. Why bring up these matters? My cultivation is already gone. It's all a moot point now being just a. Tell me, why have you come this time? Indeed, nothing can be hidden from Junior Master. It's not hard to guess. Ever since you imprisoned me here, you youngsters have been feeling guilty and dared not face me. You wouldn't visit without a reason. So why have you come? That's because we feel guilty towards Junior Master, truly ashamed to face you. Enough with the nonsense. What is it really? The voice said impatiently. It's like this, Junior Master. The bearded old man organized his thoughts before continuing. In recent years, strange phenomena have been appearing frequently around the world. The top sects are acting unusually, as if they are plotting something. We have tried our best to investigate, but to no avail. We only accidentally learned that Tianji Building once stated that a great change is imminent in 1,000 years. A transformation in heaven and earth is coming. Conflicts and chaos will arise. But what exactly this great change entails and what calamity it will bring, we still could not figure out. Junior Master, with your extensive knowledge and profound learning, do you possibly know the inside story? What did you say? A great change in 1,000 years is coming. Unexpectedly, when the voice heard this, it suddenly became agitated. Followed by the clashing sound of iron chains, a figure suddenly sat up from the bottom of the cave. It turned out the person speaking with the bearded old man had been lying there all along. Due to the dimness of the cave and the dirtiness of his clothing, blending into the color of the cave walls, it was initially unnoticeable. Little Jangwen, what you said is true. A great change in 1,000 years is coming. The person was emotionally agitated, and under the trembling of his body, the sound of iron chains came again. His body was indeed bound by several iron chains as thick as a small arm, tied near the cave wall. This is the news my nephew heard from Tianji Building. It should not be wrong. Ha ha ha. To think that such a day would finally arrive. I have finally waited for this day. Over 200 years of waiting. Heaven, you old thief. You can't wear me down after all. That figure laughed heartily, seeming mad. Junior Master, you obviously know something, right? Seeing this, the bearded old man instantly understood what was happening and said joyfully, Of course I know. How could I possibly not know? If not for this secret, how would I have ended up in this situation? The voice of the figure was still crazed. Junior Master, since you know the reason, please enlighten us. You want to know what the great change in 1,000 years actually entails? The figure asked. Please enlighten us, Junior Master. Then let's make a deal. Beneath the chaotic hair of the figure, a strange smile appeared. What kind of deal? The bearded old man felt a surge of alertness in his heart. This Junior Master was known for his perverse temperament, and no one could really know what he was thinking. But his methods had always been strange and sharp. In the past, he had made quite a name for himself with his ruthless tactics. Even now, he was still greatly feared. You want to know what the 10,000-year change really is, don't you? Just let me out, and I will tell you. I'm afraid that won't do, Junior Master, the bearded elder said with some difficulty. The disaster you caused back then was too great. That person had originally intended to have you executed, but your fellow disciples pleaded vehemently on your behalf, and that is the only reason you were spared. However, that individual still sends someone every 3 years to confirm that you're still imprisoned. If I were to release you, it would be difficult to explain to the Sword Pavilion. This is not difficult at all. When the time comes, you can just claim I am already dead, forge some evidence, and deceive them. Aren't you the leader of a sect, capable of handling even this minor task? The shadow said. The bearded old man remained silent. After more than 10 seconds, he finally spoke. Junior Master, you are now old and frail. Why do you insist on leaving? Wouldn't it be nice to spend your remaining years inside the sect? If you think this place is uncomfortable, I can arrange a more comfortable residence for you. Enough nonsense. After being imprisoned here for decades, I have had enough. In a word, will you release me or not? The shadow said impatiently. The bearded old man fell silent again, his face showing a hint of hesitation. Seeing this, the shadow continued, Little Jangwen, I know you are honest and always prioritize the sect. I can tell you clearly that this 10,000-year change is a major event that will determine the life or death of our sword pavilion. If we do not prepare in advance, not to mention maintaining our current status in Jijo, just surviving without being suppressed and swallowed would be good. More seriously, it could even lead to someone attacking us, completely destroying us and erasing our legacy. Junior Master, are you serious? The bearded old man was shaken. I swear on your Grandmaster's name, there is no falsehood. The bearded old man had heard from his deceased master that his junior uncle, in his entire life, had been perverse and fearless. He respected no one and had never looked up to anyone. Except, he held great respect for the Grandmaster who had rescued him from the chaos and raised him. Now that he had even invoked the Grandmaster's name, it might well be that what he had just said was probably not an exaggeration. The bearded old man's heart was suddenly plunged into struggle. The shadow did not urge him further, letting him think for himself. The cave fell silent again, with only the faint sound of flowing water. After a long while, the bearded old man's face suddenly firmed up as if he had made a decision. He asked, Junior Master, what do you intend to do after you leave? What can I do? Old fellow, I am just a now, with not many years left. I just want to go out and walk around in my last few years, see what the outside world looks like. Being in this cave for decades, I have no idea what it's like outside anymore. Hearing the sadness in the Junior Master's voice, the bearded old man felt a surge of remorse. The Junior Master's current plight, although self-inflicted, had indeed been locked up by him personally all those years ago. Seeing him like this, he too felt uneasy. Moreover, the Junior Master was right. Now being near his end and with his cultivation completely ruined, even if he really did leave, he could no longer cause trouble. With this thought, the bearded old man finally made up his mind. Junior Master, I can let you out, but you must promise me a few things. Of course. Seeing the bearded old man finally agreed, the figure's heart surged with excitement. Hidden in the darkness, a face revealed a sinister and ferocious smile. Lu Qing, who was far away in Jijo, naturally had no idea about this. At the moment, he was leisurely fishing by the river. The fishing spot he was at was the Miracle Fish fishing spot. Next to him, Little Lee was eagerly watching the float. During his days in the county, Little Lee's days had been good, consuming a lot of fresh fish every day. However, he had not been able to eat strange fish again. Thus, he was dearly missing it. Little Lee, don't be anxious. We haven't fished here in so long. The strange fish should have gathered again by now, Lu Qing said with a smile as he rubbed Little Lee's head. Little Lee rubbed against Lu Qing's hand and continued to stare at the float. Lu Qing couldn't help but laugh and began to take things seriously. The little guy was so expectant, he couldn't let him be disappointed. Perhaps because it had been a while since he last fished here, the strange fish truly had refreshed. Before long, Lu Qing felt the fishhook, baited with blood apricots, gently move, followed by the float suddenly sinking, and a strong pulling force transmitted from the fishing rod. However, with Lu Qing's current strength, such an ambush no longer affected him at all. He held the fishing rod steadily in his hands, a smile appearing on his face. This fishhook is a newly forged 1,000 refined fishhook. If you can pull it away, you really are capable. Indeed, this time returning home, Lu Qing had upgraded his fishing rod again. The fishing line was still made of snow silkworm silk, which proved to be extremely durable. Having used it for so long, Lu Qing had never seen it break. During his time in the county, he had also looked for other types of fishing lines, intending to buy some for backup. But he found that none were as good as the snow silkworm silk. Perhaps he had yet to find a fishing line better than the snow silkworm silk, so he hadn't replaced it. What he mainly replaced was the fishhook. Previously, Lu Qing had asked Magu to custom order some refined iron fishhooks in the county, but he still felt they were somewhat lacking. After all, no matter how good the fishing gear, fishermen always feel it could be further upgraded. Coincidentally, Lu Qing had been spending his days in Zhu Xin workshop, so he simply forged a batch of 1,000 refinement-level fishhooks. Lu Qing still remembered the indescribable expressions on Masterlin's and his apprentices' faces when he forged those fishhooks. Perhaps, in the eyes of these masters, using 1,000 refinement-level iron to make fishhooks was simply too wasteful. But out of respect for him, they refrained from commenting. After switching to the 1,000 refined fishhooks, Lu Qing's fishing rod had ascended to another level. Under the scope of superpower, a faint golden light emerged, truly qualifying it as a treasure. With such a treasure pole, Lu Qing was not at all worried that mere strange fish could trouble it. And indeed, just as he expected, Although the fish below were strong, they were now completely insignificant in front of the present Lu Qing. Before long, a beautiful form was pulled by him into midair. Is that a red moon carp? Lu Qing was surprised as he looked at the beautiful red figure on the fishhook. It was, astonishingly, the first strange fish he had ever caught, a red moon carp. Moreover, its size was much bigger than the one he caught the first time. It weighed at least 3 or 4 pounds. No wonder he felt that the strength of this strange fish was far greater than before. It turned out to be such a big fellow. Ow ow ow, watching the red moon carp floating midair, Little Lee got excited. Pacing back and forth on the shore, wagging its tail, it appeared very impatient. If it weren't for its great dislike of water, Lu Qing suspected that the little creature would have pounced already. Don't worry, I'll take it down for you now. After calming Little Lee, Lu Qing unhooked the fish and tossed it over. Swoosh! Before the fish even hit the ground, Little Lee snatched it and ran off to the nearby grass to feast. While eating, it even twitched its ears, looking extremely happy. Watching the little guy enjoy its meal, Lu Qing shook his head and then continued to fish. He actually wanted to taste the red moon carp as well, given it was one of the top 10 delicacies. He had once tasted the golden loach, another of the top 10, and still remembered its flavor vividly. However, Lu Qing also knew it was impossible to food from Little Lee's mouth. If he really did that, the little guy would stare at him with its sad big eyes all day. So he honestly continued fishing, hoping to catch another one. Perhaps hearing the anticipation in Lu Qing's heart. Not long after Little Lee had eaten only half of its fish, there was another bite on the hook. Could it really be that after not fishing for half a month, the strange fish have started to flock here? Feeling the force transmitted from the fishing rod, Lu Qing was very excited. This pulling force could only belong to a strange fish. What was more key was that he found this force very familiar. After struggling for a while and pulling up the fish, Lu Qing got even more excited. Indeed, another red moon carp. Could there be a school of them below? Looking at the slightly smaller red moon carp on the hook compared to the previous one, Lu Qing couldn't help but let his imagination run wild. He quickly unhooked the fish and put it into the bucket, then baited the hook with 2 more blood apricots and cast it again. Then, after a quarter of an hour, the bobber sank again. A school of red moon carps has really come? Seeing the 3rd red moon carp he hooked, Lu Qing was delighted, but also felt something was off. Even if he hadn't come fishing for half a month, there shouldn't have been so many strange fish suddenly. There must be a reason behind it. Lu Qing felt that it might be necessary to take some time to investigate this. However, while he was puzzled, he continued to seize the rare opportunity and kept fishing. Finally, after catching 2 more red moon carps, the bobber stopped moving altogether. It was unclear whether the red moon carps below had been fished out, or if the constant fishing scared the others away. But Lu Qing was very satisfied already. This fishing trip had yielded 5 red moon carps. Excluding the one eaten by Little Lee, there were still 4 left, enough for him, Little Yen, and his master to taste. Little Lee, you've already eaten the biggest one and are full enough. I can only give you 2 more, and they have to wait until tonight. Seeing Little Lee's slightly longing look, Lu Qing quickly said. Hearing this, Little Lee felt a bit disappointed, but it touched its own little belly and felt a bit full already. Waiting until evening seemed okay. The most crucial part was that it could eat 2 at once tonight. Thinking this, it suddenly perked up again. With excitement in their hearts, a man and a beast started making their way home. As for Little Yen, the little fellow was recognizing more characters now, and her studies had become correspondingly heavier. Every morning, she had to go to Half Mountain's small courtyard to receive teaching from the elder doctor. So if Lu Qing went fishing in the morning, Little Yin couldn't accompany him. Sitting on Lu Qing's shoulder, Little Lee's tail swayed leisurely. However, upon their return to the village entrance, its ears twitched, and suddenly it stretched out a paw to tug at Lu Qing's hair. What's wrong, Little Lee? Lu Qing asked. The little creature gestured, and Lu Qing was slightly shocked, but his face remained calm. It's nothing. Let's head home first. Speeding up a little, Lu Qing got home, put down their things, and then looked at Little Lee. Little Lee, did you sense a strange and strong presence lurking nearby, one not from our village? Little Lee nodded its head. Lu Qing's face immediately took on a serious expression. Ever since he had learned about Little Lee's special sensing ability, he had instructed it to memorize the aura of everyone in the village. This way, if a stranger approached, it could detect them immediately. Now, with a mysterious martial arts expert lurking nearby, he felt uneasy. The first thing that came to mind was an assassin from Seven Killings Tower. Honestly, since finding out about the Seven Killings order issued by the Seven Killings Tower against him, Lu Qing was quite perturbed. Being so publicly targeted for assassination and spoken of as if he should feel honored, such behavior had maximized Lu Qing's disgust for Seven Killings Tower. I hope it's not what I'm thinking, otherwise. A chill appeared on Lu Qing's face. Little Li, let's go and meet this fellow. According to the location sensed by Little Li, the person was hiding on a small hill north of the village, observing the village's movements. Following Little Li's guidance, Lu Qing slipped out from behind the house, entered the bamboo forest behind the mountain, and after making a detour to avoid being seen, he swiftly headed in that direction. With his divine soul power and a faint divine soul talisman framework formulated, Lu Qing, if he truly concealed his aura, could remain undetected even by ordinary innate realm experts. The cloth-clothed youth who possessed an exotic treasure couldn't see through his disguise either. As for Little Li, with its invisibility talent, hiding its tracks was even more secretive. Thus the mysterious figure lurking near the village, without a line of sight, did not notice Lu Qing and Little Li approaching at all. Still confidently hidden, he lay atop a large tree, quietly observing Jiuli village not far below. He was very confident in his skills of concealment. As long as he didn't expose himself, no one could find him. Once, he had assassinated a prince of a commandery by hiding under the prince's bed for a full day and night, undetected by the prince's guard who was a martial arts grandmaster. Eventually, he found an opportunity, not only killed the prince but also escaped pursuit, breaking free successfully. If even a martial arts grandmaster couldn't detect him, then this Lu Qing definitely couldn't perceive his whereabouts. After all, based on the information from the Hidden Dragon list, he was merely at the initial realm of inner organs. While it was surprising that someone at the initial realm of inner organs could make it onto the Hidden Dragon list, everyone knew that the rankings on the Hidden Dragon list only represented the probability of breaking through to the innate realm in the future, not combat strength. Those ranked in the top 10 on the Hidden Dragon list might not necessarily defeat those ranked below. This young man's placement on the Hidden Dragon list must be due to his unmatched cultivation talent. After all, being at the realm of inner organs at 17 was terrifying in terms of potential. But potential just means potential, not strength. 17 and at the realm of inner organs was indeed impressive and promised a boundless future. However, as long as he hadn't fully matured, he was just a prodigy. No matter how formidable this young man was, he couldn't possibly possess intuition stronger than a martial arts grandmaster to discover his trace. Just when the mysterious person was brimming with confidence, suddenly he heard a voice from below. "My friend, would you prefer to come down yourself, or shall I personally pull you down?" What? The lurker in the tree was deeply shaken. He had never anticipated someone appearing suddenly beneath the tree where he hid, uttering the truth of his whereabouts. Yet he had not detected even the slightest sign beforehand. The lurker dared not move an inch. He was unclear whether Lu Qing had truly discovered his location or was merely bluffing. He was exceedingly confident in his stealth technique, so a glimmer of hope lingered in his heart. However, in the next moment, he realized he was wrong. Seeing that after his call the person in the tree still showed no intention of revealing himself, Lu Qing knew the arrival had ill intentions. He looked up, only to see dense foliage lush and thriving like a pavilion, which completely obscured the lurker's figure from view. But possessing divine soul power and having condensed a trace of God's soul rune framework, his sensing ability far exceeded that of an ordinary martial arts grandmaster. Even without Little Li's guidance, he could clearly sense exactly where the breath was hiding. Without the slightest hesitation, a fist-sized stone he had casually picked up along the way appeared in his hand, which he threw with a hidden weapon technique violently upwards. With Lu Qing's current strength, a burst of chi blood enabled even an ordinary stone to contain formidable power. Boom. The stone, accelerated to the extreme and imbued with immense impact, instantly burst through the treetop. Leaves and broken branches fluttered down, and a figure fell from the tree, rolling and then standing on the ground, arms hanging down, trembling slightly, and staring at Lu Qing with a face full of shock. Shocked that Lu Qing could indeed see through his trail, and surprised by Lu Qing's decisiveness. Wasn't the rumor that this young hero possessed a chivalrous heart? Why had he attacked so ruthlessly without even clarifying his identity? Recalling the situation just now, the lurker was still frightened. Lu Qing's attack had been too sudden and had accurately located his position. He had had no time to dodge and could only take the hit forcefully. Now his arms were injured, aching and numb. and it would take at least a quarter of an hour to recover. Thank goodness I had put on soft armor beforehand. Otherwise, this would have probably crippled my hands. The lurker was grateful in his heart and no longer dared to underestimate Lu Qing. Merely a common stone tossed out possessed an attack power not inferior to that of a martial arts grandmaster. This young man before him was definitely not an ordinary martial artist of the internal realm. Not to mention, he still couldn't understand how Lu Qing had discovered his whereabouts. Finally willing to come down, huh? I thought you'd rather die than leave that tree, Lu Qing said indifferently. The lurker before him was dressed in worn-out clothes, with an ordinary appearance like a village youth you could see anywhere. If he walked in a village, no one would suspect him of being out of place. However, Lu Qing wasn't concerned about his appearance. The top assassins of the 7 Killings Tower all mastered the bone and muscle-changing secret technique and could effortlessly alter their looks. If this person were sent by the 7 Killings Tower, his current appearance might not be his true face. Therefore, Lu Qing activated his superpower without hesitation. Quickly, a rich red superpower light emerged from the body of the young man. Linen, a heavenly gang assassin of the 7 Killings Tower, codenamed Shadow. Cultivation, small success in postnatal internal realm, proficient in various assassination secret techniques, especially skilled in the art of stealth. After the 7 Killings order was issued by the 7 Killings Tower to obtain the sect's reward, he intended to assassinate you and vie for a position among the 12 heavenly gang. Indeed, an assassin from the 7 Killings Tower, Lu Qing's gaze turned icy. Feeling the chill emanating from Lu Qing, the assassin Shadow from the 7 Killings Tower was startled. Yet his face showed indignation. What do you mean by this attack? I was merely resting in the tree. How have I offended you to warrant such a lethal response? If I didn't have some skill, I would have been killed by your unwarranted attack. Faced with Shadow's feigned angry interrogation, Lu Qing's expression remained unchanged. He calmly looked at the man. An assassin from the 7 Killings Tower? Is this all you can do? Since you dare to assassinate me, are you prepared to die? Shadow was shaken inside. It had only been a few days since the 7 Killings order was issued by a sect, yet Lu Qing, located in such a remote place, already knew about it. Where did he get the information? His face still showed confusion, though. What 7 Killings Tower? Are you mistaken? I'm just passing by with no ill intentions. However, seeing that he was still playing dumb, Lu Qing no longer wished to speak further. He stomped the ground, kicking up the soil, and in a flash, he was in front of Shadow. His right hand clenched into a fist compressing the air with a tiger's roar. He unleashed a ferocious tiger heart punch straight at the opponent's chest. Feeling the might of this punch, a great alarm struck Shadow. Although he was unaware of how Lu Qing could be so sure that he was an assassin from the 7 Killings Tower, he knew that this was not the time to dwell on this issue. Lu Qing's punch was too terrifying. If he showed weakness any longer, he truly might be killed on the spot. No longer bothering with his disguise, Shadow erupted in chi blood throughout his body, and a short sword appeared in his hand, thrusting straight at Lu Qing's fist. Lu Qing's punch was indeed fearsome, almost leaving him no chance to avoid it, but Shadow also had his methods. Whether it was overconfidence on the part of the other or forgetting to bring weapons, Lu Qing was fighting him unarmed. His short sword was coated with a lethal poison, and if it could pierce even slightly through the fist, Lu Qing would surely die. Facing the counterattack of Shadow, Lu Qing's expression remained calm. As the short sword was about to stab his fist, he suddenly lowered his shoulder and dodged the blade. Then he flicked his finger, hitting right on the surface of the sword. What seemed to be a casual flick contained astonishing power, causing his already injured arm to tremble wildly with a numb sensation, nearly losing his grip on the short sword. Taking advantage of this opening, Lu Qing converted his fist to a palm and struck his opponent's chest. A powerful burst of palm force erupted, accompanied by a severe cracking sound of bones. Shadow was sent flying backward until he crashed into a large tree more than 10 meters away, shaking down countless leaves before stopping. He lay on the ground, life or death uncertain, defeated by a single move. Such a distinguished heavenly gang-level assassin from 7 Killings Tower, a powerful martial artist at small success of the internal realm, was defeated by Lu Qing in one. Yet there was not the slightest hint of triumph on Lu Qing's face. Looking at the motionless assassin on the ground, he flipped his hand, producing another stone. With a fierce whooshing sound, Lu Qing threw the stone without hesitation, aiming directly at Shadow's head. As expected, when the stone was about to smash Skull's head, Shadow, who was originally pretending to relax to take advantage of Lu Qing, suddenly moved, dodged the stone instantly, and fled into the forest to escape for his life. However, before he had run a few meters, another whooshing sound came. Boom. This time, Shadow couldn't dodge and was hit squarely in the back by the stone thrown by Lu Qing. Despite wearing soft armor, Shadow could not withstand the tremendous force, spewing out blood, which seemed to contain fragments of internal organs. Thud. Such a severe injury was unbearable even for a strong murderer at the internal realm. Shadow's body, like a broken sack, fell to the ground and rolled several times before becoming motionless. Stop playing dead. You have armor on. My strike may have incapacitated you, but was not enough to kill you, Lu Qing said, looking at the motionless Shadow. He slowly approached, stopping 7 steps away, and spoke indifferently. Shadow made no move. Lu Qing did not get angry, but flipped his hand again, holding another stone. Guess this time. Can your head dodge my stone? Cough, cough. Mr. Lu Qing, you really are cautious, even at this stage, Shadow responded, knowing that continuing to pretend was futile. He gave a bitter smile, struggling to sit up, leaning against a large tree, and looked miserably at Lu Qing. Although I don't like 7 Killings Tower, I have to admit, you dark rats have some tricks. One can easily be caught off guard and ambushed by you. Lu Qing watched the severely injured Shadow, but still did not approach further. Mr. Lu Qing, you really are powerful. Despite your young age, to have such strength, no wonder TNG Building ranked you 29th on the most recent Hidden Dragon list. Shadow looked at Lu Qing as though he were looking at a monster. He had seen the rankings on the Hidden Dragon list before, and, like everyone else, had thought Lu Qing was listed for his unparalleled martial arts talent. But now he knew it was not just Lu Qing's martial arts talent that was formidable. What was even more terrifying was his combat talent. That punch was truly astonishing. Perhaps even a martial arts grandmaster proficient in boxing couldn't compare. A novice in the initial realm of internal organs executing boxing skills comparable to a grandmaster. Such an unbelievable feat actually existed. Shadow felt his belief in martial arts being almost destroyed. What's more important was that Lu Qing's intellect was also incredibly meticulous. His numerous feints and tricks not only failed to draw out a single weakness from Lu Qing, but made him seem more elusive than a veteran experienced over hundreds of years. Was this really just a teenager? Shadow's mind couldn't help but flash with this thought. Enough. Less nonsense. Do you know why I'm not killing you now? Faced with Shadow's flattery, Lu Qing's expression remained unchanged. That must be because I have something you want. Shadow gave a wry smile. Indeed, nodded Lu Qing. Talking with a smart person saves trouble. I don't want to know much. Just spit out the whereabouts of your 7 Killings Tower, and I might leave your body intact, allowing you to die without pain. You want to know the whereabouts of our 7 Killings Tower? Shadow's eyes widened in shock for a moment. Then, as if he thought of something, a look of disbelief crossed his face. You wouldn't be thinking of attacking our 7 Killings Tower for revenge, would you? Lu Qing did not answer, but the calmness on his face gave Shadow his answer. He suddenly burst into laughter. Ha ha ha. Indeed, the courage of youth knows no fear, the ignorance of the fearless. Young people are so spirited, daring to have designs on our 7 Killings Tower. So, will you give me the address or not? I will, of course. Shadow's face showed a mocking smile. If you really want to seek death, can I stop you? Boy, I just don't know if you really have the guts to actually storm our 7 Killings Tower. You need not provoke me. Whether I go is my business. After all, you won't see that moment. Lu Qing said indifferently. He made no attempt to hide his intent to kill Shadow. Shadow naturally heard Lu Qing's murderous intent, but he no longer cared. The rock that Lu Qing had smashed into his back had already shattered his internal organs. Now, he was mortally wounded, barely hanging on by the strong life energy of a martial artist of the internal realm. Unless he found those legendary healing herbs. Even if Lu Qing let him go, he wouldn't live for many days. Good, you've got guts. Shadow praised him. We 7 Killings Tower have only assassinated others. It's the first time I see someone daring to provoke us. Mr. Lu Qing, with this courage, your name on the Hidden Dragon list is truly deserved. Lu Qing, he had come to realize that the people in this world really took the Hidden Dragon list very seriously. Being so valued and recognized by martial artists all over the world, it's no wonder that the list had a function to gather fortune. Since he had agreed, Shadow was straightforward and immediately mentioned a series of locations. Lu Qing silently noted them down. Seeing this, Shadow finally believed that this young man was not bluffing. He really intended to take revenge on their 7 Killings Tower. A thrill grew in his heart, eager to see the collision between such a rare creature and the sect. As an assassin who killed without batting an eye, Shadow had no sense of belonging to Seven Killings Tower. Since childhood, he had been captured by the Seven Killings Tower and subjected to brutal assassin training, enduring immense suffering. For such a cold-blooded organization, he only harbored hatred, not gratitude. However, having grown up in the Seven Killings Tower and knowing its terror, even if he detested and loathed it intensely, he could never muster any will to resist. Now seeing someone willing to seek revenge against that demon, although he knew the hope was slim, he still felt a surge of excitement. With that thought, Shadow added, Mr. Lucci, the locations of the Seven Killings Tower I just mentioned are actually just minefields. Even if destroyed, they are of little concern to the Seven Killings Tower. It won't hurt them. But there is one place, if you can destroy it, the Seven Killings Tower will certainly suffer tremendous losses, feel mad with rage, and be in anguish. After saying this, Shadow mentioned another location. He also very clearly described the various mechanisms set up at that location. On the hillside, within the trees, Lu Qing looked at the corpse of Shadow as it slowly ceased to breathe, falling into silence. The words Shadow spoke before dying echoed in his mind. Mr. Lu Qing, I have told you everything I could, but I advise you not to rush towards revenge. In Seven Killings Tower, there are assassins stronger than me. Several of the most crucial strongholds have elders of the innate realm station. Mr. Lu Qing, your martial arts talent is unparalleled, and your future is boundless. In time, you will surely grow into a great martial arts titan. Then it would be easy to take control of the Seven Killings Tower. Sadly, I won't be able to see that day. Lu Qing could feel that Shadow had harbored great resentment towards Seven Killings Tower in his final moments. That's why he revealed all he knew about the Seven Killings Tower. It was unknown what brutal act the Seven Killings Tower had committed against Shadow to make him, a disciple, completely disloyal to his sect and wish for its total destruction. He recalled the Heavenly Orphan, who had tried to assassinate young Master Wei and had also given him advice before dying. It seemed these assassins from the Seven Killings Tower were quite intriguing, perhaps by assassinating others frequently. They had long been prepared to face death. When facing their own deaths, they all appeared quite calm. However, although Lu Qing's impression of these assassins had slightly changed, enemies remained enemies. Lu Qing would not spare Shadow's life just for that reason. With his capabilities, it wouldn't have been difficult to heal Shadow's injuries, but showing mercy to an enemy was cruelty to oneself. From the moment Shadow had decided to try and assassinate him, it had been determined that only one of them would survive. Lu Qing was not so merciful as to forgive someone who tried to kill him. Realizing through his superpower that Shadow was indeed dead, Lu Qing briefly searched the body, taking some useful items into the Qingquanqi bag. Then he found a spot to bury the corpse, letting it rest in peace, and preventing it from being exposed in the wilderness. After finishing all this, he took Little Li, who had been hiding in the shadows, and headed home. Previously, he had kept Little Li hidden just in case, so that if the enemy was too strong and he couldn't handle it, he would still have a backup plan. But clearly, he had been overly cautious. Arriving home, Lu Qing took out the items he had retrieved from Shadow. After checking them, he found there weren't many useful things. Aside from some gold and silver items, and gold and silver notes, there were only a few things of real value. 2 medicine bottles, a set of soft armor, and that short sword smeared with potent poison of the 1000 refinement level. Inside the 2 medicine bottles, one contained poison, and the other contained elixirs for cultivation in the inner organs realm. However, aside from the elixir for the inner organs realm, the rest were not very useful to Lu Qing. They could be given as gifts later, which was not a bad way to establish goodwill. Lu Qing felt a bit regretful. Neither with the Heavenly Orphan nor with Shadow had he found any secret manuals. Honestly, he was quite interested in the bone and muscle-changing technique of the Seven Killings Tower. Though with his current realm, his control over his physical body had reached a very high level. It wasn't difficult to temporarily change his appearance, but achieving the seamless disguise of another person, perfectly coordinated without any flaws, as the Heavenly Orphan had done before, was extremely difficult. Sadly, it was clear that there was some restriction by the Seven Killings Tower, probably not allowing its assassins to carry secret manuals on them in order to prevent leaking of various secret techniques that were crucial to their foundation. Not finding anything particularly useful, Lu Qing casually stored the items and then, carrying a fish bucket, he took Little Li to the half-mountain small courtyard. "Brother, Little Li, you're back. Arriving at Half Mountain's small courtyard, little Yin, who had been reciting from a book in the yard, immediately put the book down and ran over, jumping around. Yep, how about it? Did you memorize today's text? Lu Qing asked with a smile. Little Li then jumped into little Yan's arms, enjoying her caress. I memorized it. Brother, how was the fishing? Did you catch any strange fish? Little Yin knew that Lu Qing had gone fishing mainly because Little Li had recently been craving strange fish a lot, throwing tantrums and wanting to eat, so he had gone out fishing early in the morning. I caught some, and even several. As the siblings talked in the courtyard, Elder Dr. Chen came out from the house, his expression quite serious as he looked at Qing. Qing, what was that earlier? Clearly, the Elder Doctor had sensed the fluctuations from the earlier battle between Lu Qing and Shadow. After all, Half Mountain's small courtyard wasn't too far from that mountain. Just a petty member of the Seven Killings Tower, already taken care of by the disciple, Lu Qing replied casually. Elder Dr. Chen nodded, not inquiring further about what happened to the assassin from the Seven Killings Tower. He himself disliked taking human lives, but he wouldn't demand his disciple to do the same. Moreover, he particularly disapproved of powers like the Seven Killings Tower, which recklessly assassinated others' lives. Although nothing went wrong this time, you should still be careful on a daily basis, the Elder Doctor advised. Disciple understands, Lu Qing nodded, then added, Master, I was quite lucky this morning and caught several red moon carps. Since last time we sold the red moon carp and couldn't taste it ourselves, why don't we try the flavor of one of the world's top 10 delicacies tonight? You caught several red moon carps? Elder Dr. Chen was very surprised. Has the red moon carp become so easy to catch nowadays? Disciple is also puzzled, maybe because it has been a long time since fishing. All the strange fish in the river have gathered, said Lu Qing. Lu Qing actually had a guess, but before confirming it, he did not want to jump to conclusions. Hearing that they could eat red moon carp, the Elder Doctor also felt some anticipation. By dinner time when Lu Qing was cooking, the Elder Doctor didn't even look at his medical books, leaving his study early. Lu Qing prepared 2 red moon carps, one steamed and one boiled into soup. During dinner, all of them tried a bite and indeed found the fish tender, delicate, and extremely flavorful, with the soup refreshing their hearts and spleens, truly living up to its reputation as one of the top 10 delicacies. That dinner, everyone ate heartily with great enjoyment. That night, after Little Yin and Little Li had gone to sleep, Lu Qing sat on his bed and quietly thought things through. During the day, he had obtained substantial information about Seven Killings Tower from Shadow. This included some key locations of the strongholds. However, he hadn't thought about taking action against Seven Killings Tower anytime soon. Lu Qing was well aware of his own limitations. With his current strength, trying to shake a huge entity like Seven Killings Tower was just a fool's dream. Even if he could destroy 1 or 2 of their bases unexpectedly, it would essentially be a trivial matter for a behemoth like Seven Killings Tower, serving no purpose but to warn them and cause unnecessary alertness. When striking a snake, one must aim for its vital part. Either don't strike at all, or if you do, you must severely or kill them. Therefore, Lu Qing wasn't in a rush. For now, his top priority should be to focus on accruing strength and to use his time to significantly enhance his capabilities. Only when his power was formidable would he be worthy of facing a mighty force like Seven Killings Tower. Additionally, he had a premonition from the cloth-clothed youth's words that the once-in-a-millennium change was nearing. Perhaps it wouldn't be many years before the world itself would transform. After forming a trace of divine soul rune framework, Lu Qing trusted his own intuition. To stand a chance in the anticipated upheaval, strength was indispensable. Temporary gains and conflicts of pride were trivial. Enhancing his own strength was the most crucial task. With that thought, Lu Qing felt a slight stir in his spirit, and a sword appeared in his hand, the very same divine weapon blade embryo forged from outer heaven-fallen iron. Placing the sword embryo across his knees, Lu Qing concentrated his spirit, and a trace of divine soul power emerged from the acupuncture point between his eyebrows, entering the embryo and beginning the refining process. Lu Qing employed a secret technique inherited from Lihua's sect. Using mind and spirit to refine the sword embryo, he engraved secret runes within it, leaving his own spiritual imprint. Once the rune engraving was complete and the refinement reached perfection, the sword embryo would transform into a sword Dao magical artifact, an existence even superior to that of a divine weapon. However, due to the weak nature of his divine soul power, Lu Qing could not refine for long each day. Thus, successfully refining the embryo into a magical artifact was bound to be a long process that required plenty of time. After refining for a quarter of an hour, Lu Qing started to feel mental fatigue. Knowing he was reaching his limit, he ceased the refinement and stored the sword embryo back in the Qian Kuan Qi bag. He then took the opportunity to practice the furnace visualization method, pushing his spirit to its utmost limit before falling into a deep sleep according to a special breathing technique. The next morning, waking up refreshed, Lu Qing found the divine soul power in the acupuncture point between his eyebrows had significantly increased. This was a cultivation method he had devised over the last few days, pieced together from the multitude of inheritances in his mind. Each night, he would first employ divine soul power to refine the outer heaven-fallen iron sword embryo, then practice the furnace visualization method, pushing his mind to a certain limit before regulating his breath according to the turtle breathing technique and recuperating his divine soul power in his sleep. Such cultivation made him feel rejuvenated upon waking the next day, fully restoring and even enhancing his divine soul power substantially, truly achieving progress in both artifact refining and cultivation. Feeling his enhanced divine soul power, Lu Qing was very satisfied. At this rate, solidifying a complete divine soul talisman before advancing to the innate realm wasn't just wishful thinking anymore. Glancing outside, as the morning sun was already rising, Lu Qing, as usual, practiced some nourishing body boxing in the courtyard before heading off to prepare breakfast. Just as he'd finished making breakfast and was about to call Little Yin and Little Li, suddenly he heard some noise outside, followed by a hearty voice. "Brother Lu Qing, I'm here to freeload a meal." "Elder Ma, are you done with your clan's matters?" Lu Qing stepped outside, somewhat surprised. Indeed, it was Ma Gu. Dressed in a blue robe with a long sword hanging from his waist, he had reverted to his previous attire. "It's done. Thanks to Xian. In fact, there's not much left for me to do in the clan anymore. The clan leader and the elders keep talking about it. They nearly directly told me that as long as I maintain a good relationship with Xian and you guys, I don't need to worry about anything else." Tired of hearing that, I found an excuse to return to the great gathering. Ma Gu appeared somewhat depressed and also a bit embarrassed. It seemed he felt that the clan was being too calculated about his and Lu Qing's relationship. Lu Qing, however, didn't really mind these things. Instead, he asked, "You returned to the great gathering. So what about Xian? Don't you need to supervise his cultivation anymore?" Lu Qing was aware of the true reason Wei Xian had become Ma Gu's disciple. "Well, I'll keep you guessing for now. You'll know in a couple of days." Ma Gu simply smiled slightly, playing coy. Lu Qing. Just as Lu Qing was about to remain speechless, Ma Gu took off the long sword from his waist. "Right, Brother Lu Qing, I just realized a few days ago, is this the sword you gave me?" Lu Qing looked over. The scabbard seemed familiar. It was indeed the one he had asked Master Lin of Zhu Xian Workshop to make, so he nodded. "Yes, it is my gift to you, a token of congratulations for your and young Master Wei's master-disciple ceremony." "Is it really from you?" Ma Gu's eyes widened. "Brother Lu Qing, do you know that this is a 1,000 refinement level treasure sword?" "I know, otherwise why would I give it to you?" Lu Qing continued nodding. Nonsense, he had personally crafted the sword. How could he not know its quality? However, Lu Qing was somewhat puzzled. He had given away the sword some time ago, so why was Ma Gu only asking about it now? A 1,000 refinement level treasure sword is extremely valuable, priceless. Brother Lu Qing, such a precious gift, I really can't accept. You should take it back, Ma Gu hastily said. In his heart, Lu Qing was the great benefactor who had saved him several times. He had not yet found the chance to repay such a huge favor and had no right to accept such an expensive gift. You must know, a blade of the 1,000 refinement level, even among the Ma family's treasure trove, not one could be found. So when Ma Gu first discovered this congratulatory gift, not just him, but even the family head was utterly stunned. Lu Qing. Didn't Housekeeper Wei tell you that I made this sword myself, and it didn't cost much? You personally crafted this treasure sword? Unexpectedly to Lu Qing. Upon hearing this, Ma Gu's eyes widened even more, as big as a cow's, filled with disbelief. Lu Qing fell completely silent. Looking at Ma Gu's expression, which didn't seem like he was faking, he must truly have been unaware. But why would Housekeeper Wei make such a mistake? What Lu Qing didn't know was that with the thoroughness Housekeeper Wei usually brought to his work, he indeed wouldn't have made such a basic error. However, on the day of the Master-Disciple ceremony, many things happened. especially with Wei Xian being ambushed and seriously injured. Even though he was saved by Lu Qing with spiritual medicine, his life was narrowly spared. But his primordial qi was greatly damaged, causing the master-disciple ceremony to end abruptly. Afterwards, the Wei family was in a rush to find out who had placed the bounty to assassinate Wei Xian, resulting in the neglect of the gift matter. They just sent over what belonged to Ma Gu to the Ma family, and the rest were not explained clearly. Among them, Lu Qing's gift got mixed in with many others and was very inconspicuous. It was later, when the Ma family was tallying the gifts, that they saw the name on the gift box and realized it was from Lu Qing. Upon opening it and seeing the 1,000 refinement treasure sword inside, they were shocked. By that time, Lu Qing and the Elder Doctor had already set off on their return journey to Jioli village. After hearing Ma Gu's story, Lu Qing finally understood what had happened. He smiled. In that case, Mr. Ma, please keep the sword at ease. This sword was a practice piece I made at Junta'sGaming workshop before, nothing exceptional, and it didn't cost much. These words completely floored Ma Gu. 1,000 refinement level practice piece. Had Brother Lu Qing's casting technique already reached such a level? Wait, when had Brother Lu Qing learned to craft? He wasn't aware of it? Had it been during the days when he went home? But that was only a few days. For a moment, Ma Gu's thoughts were in turmoil, his brain nearly crashing. However, knowing it was indeed crafted by Lu Qing himself, he eventually accepted the 1,000 refinement treasure sword. Mr. Ma, have you eaten yet? I just made breakfast. Would you like to join me? Seeing Ma Gu's mood had recovered, Lu Qing asked. Ma Gu's eyes immediately lit up. Of course I want to eat. I intentionally skipped breakfast and timed my arrival, just because I haven't tasted your cooking in so long and missed it. Hearing such a bold and justified freeloading excuse, Lu Qing could only laugh helplessly. All right, you go inside and wait a bit. I'll go call Little Yin and the others. Deep in the mountains, in the strange valley where Li Weitian was buried, Lu Qing and Little Li appeared. Half a year since I last came here, nothing seems to have changed. Lu Qing gazed at the valley's birdsong and flowers, feeling somewhat emotional. Outside the valley, the autumn wind was bleak, with leaves falling, yet inside the valley it was still like spring in full bloom, an oddity indeed. Little Li on his shoulder called out, seemingly urging Lu Qing. I know, you and Little Yin have plans to play chess early when we get back. This closure shouldn't take too long. Lu Qing soothed, rubbing the fluffy head of the little creature. He somewhat regretted why he had had the whim to create a set of beast fighting chess some time ago. It had once again ensnared the two little ones, now immersing themselves deeply every day, wishing all their time could be spent on playing chess. Visiting Li Weitian's grave first to pay respects, then Lu Qing, accompanied by Little Li, passed through the waterfall and entered the cave. Upon reaching the Jade Cave Chamber, everything remained just as it had when Lu Qing first discovered it, without any change. It seemed as though it would remain the same eternally, no matter how much the outside world altered. Of course, Lu Qing knew it was merely an illusion. From the time he found this cave, it had only been just over 2 years. It was ridiculous to speak of eternity. Little Li, guard the entrance for me while I go inside to close off. Lu Qing took out a variety of items from his Qiankuan Qi bag. Soft cotton bedding, fresh water, dried fish, among others, all prepared for Little Li. He even placed a couple of storybooks there, so the little guy could browse through them if he got bored. After all, in these 2 years, Little Li had practically learned to recognize all the characters, able to understand somewhat simple writings. This closure was extremely important for him, and he didn't know how long it would take. Nevertheless, he prepared comprehensively for his sustenance. Previously, when moving through the forests, he could only carry a bamboo basket, limiting what he could bring. Now, having something like the Qiankuan Qi bag as a magical storage space allowed him to make thorough arrangements. Little Li, used to seeing Lu Qing draw numerous items from that small bag, was no longer surprised. It walked into the little cotton nest, cozily lying down, indicating it understood. You're getting lazier by the day. Lu Qing shook his head, half in amusement. However, he trusted Little Li's abilities greatly. Its unique sensing capability could easily detect innate realm experts nearby if they were not deliberately concealing their presence. Plus, with its ghostly invisibility talent and unbreakable claws and teeth, even a martial arts grandmaster, caught off guard, would hardly be a match for it. There was no better protector than it. Letting the little creature lazily sprawl there, Lu Qing pushed open the hidden door, entered the secret chamber, and sat cross-legged on the jade bed. After regulating his breath to calm his mind thoroughly and adjusting his essence, spirit, and vitality to their optimal states, he then immersed his mind into the acupoint between his eyebrows. Compared to 2 years ago, Lu Qing's acupoint between the eyebrows had undergone significant changes. Not only had the space expanded, but his divine soul power had also made substantial progress. If 2 years ago, his divine soul power could only form a shallow mist in the third eye acupoint, now it had turned into a dense fog. It was dozens of times richer than before. More importantly, in the center of the acupoint, an ancient-looking, complex divine soul talisman hovered in midair, stabilizing the entire acupoint space, making it even more secure. This divine soul talisman was almost completely intact except for a tiny corner missing at the bottom right side, nearly flawless. The purpose of Lu Qing's seclusion this time was to fill in this last missing corner and fully refine the divine soul talisman. This step was extremely important concerning his future path, and he could not afford to be careless. That's why he brought Little Li with him to seclude themselves in the undisturbed Jade Cave. It's finally the moment. Enhancing the divine soul power is truly much more difficult than cultivating the physical body. My physical qualities had reached the level of a martial arts grandmaster at the perfection of the internal realm just a year ago. Yet, the divine soul power, even with the help of a mortal Dao secret skill, took another year to barely start refining the divine soul talisman. His heart and spirit watched the talisman within the acupoint, and Lu Qing felt a sense of marvel. Over these 2 years, he had practiced diligently every day, continuously tempering his divine soul power. He had even cultivated the furnace visualization method to the second level, the realm of melting furnace. Only then had he managed to enhance his divine soul power enough to thoroughly refine the divine soul talisman. Conversely, his martial arts cultivation had progressed rapidly without much concentration, merely practicing nourishing body boxing a few times each day. He had reached the perfection of the internal realm and entered the status of a martial arts grandmaster much earlier. There was no helping it. Lu Qing's accumulation in martial arts was simply too profound. 2 years ago, he had already understood various martial arts cultivation techniques to the grandmaster level, even touching the boundary of will. And over these 2 years, his insight into martial arts had greatly improved. Also, having once consumed Earth Vein Spirit Liquid and other rare treasure liquids, his talent was astonishing. With such accumulation, it was difficult for his martial arts cultivation not to advance quickly. 2 years of hard cultivation, I have made significant progress in all aspects of my cultivation. Now, it's finally time to deal with this divine soul talisman. Looking at the nearly complete divine soul talisman in his third eye acupoint, Lu Qing did not hesitate anymore and began refining the final rune according to the heritage records of the divine talisman sect. Refining the God Soul rune had already become second nature to Lu Qing. After all, over these 2 years, he had refined countless such God Soul runes. Thus, it didn't take long for him to refine the last missing rune for the talisman. He carefully moved the rune towards the divine soul talisman. As the rune approached the talisman, a strange force emerged, and the rune autonomously flew towards the talisman, fitting perfectly into the missing corner, seamlessly completing it. With the completion of the rune, a miraculous scene unfolded. The entire talisman began to emanate a faint aura, and the many runes Lu Qing had painstakingly refined over the 2 years gathered, dispersed, combined, and rotated. Finally, when all changes ceased, a completely intact divine soul talisman appeared again. At the same time, Lu Qing felt an invisible fluctuation emanating from the talisman. Subsequently, his third eye acupoint began to transform. This transformation was sudden and intense, catching Lu Qing somewhat off guard. His heart and spirit were swept up by the fluctuation, plunging him into a bizarre state akin to sudden enlightenment. This sudden enlightenment of the divine soul indeed differs quite significantly from the learning state of perception and understanding of superpower. Lu Qing mused as he roused from his state of sudden enlightenment, his eyes brimming with astonishment. At that moment, he felt incredibly good. Everything around him was under control. Not only had his sensitivity greatly increased, but his control over his physical body had also risen to another level. His mind stirred, and his heart and spirit once again emerged into the Qi acupoint between his eyebrows. He saw that the Qi acupoint had undergone earth-shaking changes. Not only had the space in the acupoint expanded several times, allowing it to hold more divine soul power, but the mist that represented the divine soul power had also become much denser. With these improvements combined, his divine soul power had increased more than tenfold compared to before. In the center of the Qi acupoint, a hazy divine soul talisman emanated an air of simplicity, weightiness, and authority. It stood suspended in midair, inhaling and exhaling the surrounding divine soul mist. With every breath it took, Lu Qing could feel the divine soul mist seemingly becoming more refined, strengthening ever so slightly. Based on my previous estimates, before the formation of the divine soul talisman, my divine soul power was comparable to that of a martial arts expert in the initial innate realm, not far off from that old ancestor of the Wei family. Now that the divine soul talisman is complete, my divine soul power has surged. Speaking solely of the strength of the divine soul power, I can now crush the majority of ordinary experts in the initial innate realm. The divine soul of man has always been mysterious and elusive, difficult to comprehend. Even innate realm martial artists have a shallow understanding of it.
Okay, I am going to hop off for a bit. Amadeus. In a couple hours I'll be hopping on to Final Fantasy. If you wanna, play a bit later then, let me know. Anyways, I'm gonna hop off for a bit. I'll see you guys in a couple hours. Peace.